Hey, it's the Redeye stream number 95. Sorry I'm late, guys. I had to go help a buddy out and sign a paper, so maybe he'll be released from jail in a couple of days, and then I'm stuck with his ass. Woohoo! Yay. At least I'm a good friend. And I have a good co-host because he found the stories today. 40, take it away.
Everyone sounds thrilled that your friend's gonna visit. What was that?
Oh, I was just gonna agree. Yeah. Oh, they're just happy as can be, crying in the background. No.
All right. So this is some juicy shit that I found. I'm so glad 4chan exists, because if it didn't, I would have never have found this. So this is from Business Insider, and the headline reads: U.S. troops in Syria prepare for more Russian attacks after crushing up to 300 Russian mercenaries in a February battle. So there's some bullet points. We don't need to cover those. So the article says, U.S. troops in Syria are digging in and preparing for future attacks after a massive battle played out in the country's east, that ended up with 300 Russian mercenaries killed by U.S. artillery and air power. Reporting from the ground in Syria, NBC News' Richard Ingel and Kenneth Werner spoke to Brigadier General Jonathan Braga, I think is how you say that, whose forces beat back the pro-Syrian government advance on a well-known U.S. position near valuable oil fields. The Pentagon said the pro-Syrian forces, including many Russian-hired and private military contractors, i.e. mercenaries, made an unprovoked attack on their positions with artillery fire. The U.S. response included airstrikes, artillery shelling, that sources say wiped out much of the advancing column in just minutes. Quote, those artillery rounds could have landed and killed Americans. That's why we continue to prepare our defenses, Braga said. Who directs the U.S.-led operations against ISIS, told NBC News. Braga also confirmed that it was largely Russian nationals that took part in the fighting, although the Kremlin denies this. But despite the overwhelming victory that saw 0 casualties on the U.S. side, Braga said he is absolutely concerned about further clashes in the future. After the massive battle, Russian job listing sites were seen as advertising security work in Syria, in what is likely a recruitment play for more mercenaries. A man claiming to recruit Russians to work as private military contractors said the recruits he now met were joining up to take revenge on the U.S. after the battle shook their national pride. Now, according to NBC News, the forces that once attacked the U.S. sit just 3 miles away, and Braga is uneasy. Quote, there's no reason for that amount of combat power to be staring at us this closely, Braga said. I don't think that's healthy for de-escalation. As a result, Braga's forces are digging in, preparing for what could be a future clash. Russia stands accused of using military contractors, or Russian nationals, without proper Russian military uniforms to conceal the true cost of fighting in places like Ukraine and Syria. But when the Russian mercenaries were crushed by U.S. air power, they reportedly had no anti-aircraft weaponry. It's unclear how the Russian mercenaries and pro-Syrian government forces expect to stand a chance against the U.S. without the involvement of proper Russian military, or at least weapons that can take down, that could take down the U.S. Apache helicopters that are said to have strafed and mopped up the mercenaries towards the end of the battle.
Wait a minute, though. So this is like Russia's version of Blackwater or whatever? And we just wiped them out with artillery? Is that what just happened?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to point out how fucking hilarious it is. We took 0 casualties, and we beat their fucking dicks in the dirt with artillery and Apache helicopters. But I mean, this is like the U.S. version of it reminds me of the battle for Hill 3432 or something like that. It was like a 39 Soviet paratroopers versus like 200 Mujahideen, and they fucking beat the shit out of the Mujahideen. But this is what this reminds me of: a bunch of dudes held out, just beating the shit out of a superior force. It's fucking amazing. Sorry, I know I was talking for quite a bit. I apologize.
The question is who are these mercenaries? Okay, we say that they're Russian, but everybody should understand that part of Russia, that Chechnya is part of Russia.
Yeah.
And from the Russian side of things, going in there, recruiting a bunch of freaking ISIS fighters, and then sending them against the U.S. military from Chechnya, gets them out of Chechnya and gets them killed.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians would look at this as a win-win situation. There's the Americans. Go get them, boys. Oh, the air power suck? Oh, I'm sorry. Try again. You can do it this time.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, for that and the fact that they were coming in columns.
Like, okay. That's just what's so fucking hilarious, man.
If you use standard type of tactics like that against the U.S. military, which that's what we've trained for, 50 years for, is Russian columns, and you're going to march at us in Russian columns, you're going to get slaughtered.
It's just fucking hilarious. Like, what is this? The fucking 1800s? Are they using muskets?
But
for fuck's sake.
What were they sending Apache helicopters in there to do strafing runs for?
To apparently,
okay, you're using 20-millimeter cannons for strafing runs. Now think about that. You're not using machine guns. You're using 20-millimeter cannon rounds as a strafing device. All right. I mean, this was insane. No matter how they looked at it, I wouldn't know why they would do something like that.
Wait, so I'm still confused. Okay, so these guys were Russian citizens. They were recruited from Russia to join a militia, right? Who are they siding with? The Syrian army? Is because if we just wiped out a whole fucking however big the unit was of the Syrian army, why is Putin taking that shit? He's vowed to protect the Syrians, right?
Why? Once again, what Chechnya is a problem for the Russians. Why not get rid of a bunch of them? Let them volunteer to get rid of themselves by going against the U.S. military. This is a win-win for frickin' Putin. Are you kidding me?
Well, it says it was a U.S.-led operation against ISIS, but it says that they were, these quote-unquote Russian mercenaries, and then and pro-Syrian government forces.
Yeah, see, that's what's getting me confused, because the Syrians are killing the ISIS people also. So why are we wiping out the Russian militia units?
All right, you got to understand who ISIS technically is. ISIS is technically Sunni Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And in Chechnya, there's a bunch of Sunni Muslims. Okay? So, but they're Muslim, and they hate America, and they hate Russia too. What better way to get them out of your country and get them into Syria, form them into a group, give them weapons, say, there's the Americans, go kill the Americans. This is a plus for him, all right, if this is what's happened. And I kind of, this is the kind of stuff that Putin would do. Okay? I mean, this is the kind of tactic. I mean, if you think about it, it's a win-win for him, so I can't see him not doing something like this. Okay? So from their standpoint, the way they fight and the guerrilla tactics that they would use, this fits in perfectly. Now, ISIS, we claim that we're killing ISIS. They claim that they're killing ISIS. When you walk in there and you look at someone from the Middle East, can you tell whether or not they're an ISIS member, whether they're a Shia or a Sunni, or whether they're an Alawite, which is what Bashar Assad is? I mean,
don't they have like collector's cards or something? Or like ID badges like we have over here in the States for companies?
Well, yeah, but they don't flash them when they're charging up the field in nice 2x2 columns to get wiped out.
But why? The UK did that to us. Oh, excuse me, the Scottish. Sorry, praise Wallace.
Praise.
Oh, You know, I was kind of wondering, since tomorrow's St. Patty's Day. By the way, I'm gonna buy some whiskey. I'm thinking about doing a weekend stream. But I wanted to ask Voice of One, do they even celebrate that over there? I think it's really just an American thing.
I thought it was just
but he's
another
not around.
day. They call it Saturday.
Actually,
Yeah, right.
Actually, I think that it is a day, but it's not. It's a religious holiday. It's not a celebratory holiday that like we do in America.
That's fucking hilarious. They're over there praying, and we're over here getting shit-faced.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Well, they get shit-faced after they pray.
Not all cultures are equal.
All cultures are beautiful.
Except the ones that aren't.
Yeah, except for them Canadians. Am I right? No, I'm kidding.
I love Canadians.
Why you always got to pick on the poor little Canadians? They ain't done nothing.
Don't you have more landmass than us?
Oh, a shit ton more. It's just all frozen.
Yeah.
Because that's why Canada can't be self-sufficient, is because we can't grow anything.
You have fish and pot.
Yeah, but all the fish are pretty much disappearing at this point.
It's because they're all high.
That's too many polar
Exactly.
bears.
They make good skins.
I like bears.
Good fur skins.
Like bears. I will never forget back in the 80s. Was it the 80s or 70s? Where there was a National Geographic special on polar bears. And at that time, the favorite trick of the National Geographic was to get one of their camera crews, stick them in a cage so that they could film the different wildlife that was going on. So they did it with lions, they did it with tigers, and they did it with some.
Say bears. Say bears.
Not bears. I'm trying to think what the other thing was somewhere in Africa, right? So then they went up there to do it in the same kind of thing with the polar bears, right? So they stuck the guy in there. And the polar bears, they kind of expect the polar bears to look at him for a little bit and then go off, start doing their normal polar bear kind of things. The polar bears never left. The polar bears went around the cage, kept pawing at it. One would leave, they'd walk away a little bit while the other one came over there and tried pawing it, and it would sit on top of the cage and then come back because they understood. As soon as they could get through the hard, crunchy outer center, there's a nice, soft, chewy, warm thing in the middle. He was there for like 8 hours. He almost got frostbite because the polar bears never left.
So they just put this dude in a shark cage for like half a day, third of a day.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's like those idiots that go down into shark cages. Like, you're a moron, man. You see that tiger shark fucking ramming it and trying to get into the cage. What if he makes it in there, motherfucker?
Well, that's where one of the scenes from Jaws came from.
Right, I know
like
this
the shark actually got its head stuck in the cage.
I know this is retarded, but like that, you saying that, Mad Dodge, that reminds me. When I was in high school, I got into a 45-minute argument with some stupid girl because she didn't think tiger sharks existed, and I had to literally Google it and fucking show her.
To be fair, my ex used to believe that giraffes were an imaginary creature.
Are you fucking kidding me?
My ex was also like literally like I think like a point or two off from like genius. Oh no, it gets better. It gets better. The only reason she believed that was because in the first grade, some kid told her that giraffes weren't real. So she just believed it. She internalized it. But guess what was on the front cover of her animal book growing up?
Was it a fucking giraffe?
It was a giraffe, but G was actually for gorilla in the book.
That's why.
Since we kind of got a little sidetracked here, and to be honest, I was in town all day, so this is kind of a spitball show tonight. So, but National Geographic, I saw a story the other day. They hired some people to start going through their back issues just to make sure that they're not racist. Like, son of a bitch. I mean, literally, they're going to be going through their whole archive to see if there's any racist articles in National Geographic.
Define racist.
Gee, I wonder if they're going to find anything. Like, they're not going to find any sort of pictures with, like, women from Africa that are going to be perceived wrongly by people. Sure.
Nah.
Yeah, that's all they were for a while. Is just there's a naked African chick. There's a naked African chick.
I literally think I have like a half dozen of those still somewhere, either at like my mom's place for storage or something like. Because I remember a stack of those. Dude, literally National Geographic Channel. Like I don't really think I learned anything new in school up until maybe like the 5th or 6th grade from just watching National Geographic all day.
Dude, right? National Geographic was fucking awesome.
Oh, you guys, when I was at Goodwill today, I saw a blast from the past. Guess what? It was an actual encyclopedia. Crazy, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, insanity.
Wait, aren't those the oversized paperweights?
Yeah, they're these big books with all the facts that you can now Google in 10 seconds, in them. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Dude,
I'm under the age of 30, so I have never seen one of these things before in my life.
Dude, I mean, like, when you had to borrow one of your buddies, it was just a pain in the ass texting them on those old rotary phones.
Yeah, you remember those salesmen that would come and try and sell you those fucking things? Could you imagine that nowadays, like being the last encyclopedia salesman? That would be a sad job.
Well, he just needs to go to my grandfather. My grandfather was one of those guys that, like, when the encyclopedia people showed up, like, he invited them into his home, made them coffee, wanted to hear everything, and then he bought just about every single thing they had on him. I'll send him the address.
Yeah, that is a salesman's fucking wet dream right there.
Dude, those people do exist. I have met them.
Grandfather was just a knowledge machine, so anytime, like, it didn't matter if it was like if he just bought new ones, he just wanted all the latest information. I bet he as soon as the Google came around, it must have been his wet dream.
Well, maybe Google in a more current form. Google in its original form may have been a little different.
Depends on what you're looking for, actually.
Yeah.
If you're looking for hard science kind of stuff, actually Google and like Wikipedia are very good, right? When you're looking for something that's a little more, generic, or any of the social science stuff, it's freaking horrible. But then again, so is the university, so I guess it really doesn't matter much.
Mm-hmm.
But no, back to the Syria thing before I totally forget about it. MC, why wouldn't Putin? One, you're right. He probably is happy about this because it is getting rid of a problem. But on the other hand, couldn't he use this politically? Be like, look, you guys just wiped out a bunch of Russian citizens. We're not at war. What are you doing, United States?
Well,
That's what I would do.
If he was willing to do that, right, he would have put Russian troops there. It would have been Russian troops.
I thought there were Russian troops in Syria.
There are Russian troops in Syria. All right.
Okay.
But he's not using them necessarily to do anything with it. There's several things going on. I mean, there's several issues with this. One, the people that he's going to end up recruiting for this are going to be people from areas that are destabilizing. That's number one. Number two is Russia announced they were withdrawing a lot of their, they were drawing their forces down quite a bit. The reason being is it's costly to keep waging wars like this. So what better than to have somebody else pay for your problem children to go away and get whacked? But if you're going to do that, all right, then, and you want to sit up there and go, well, these are Russian citizens. How dare the Americans attack Russian citizens? Well, then what does he gain from that? Well, on the world stage, he doesn't gain anything. All right. I mean, because no one's going to believe his side of the story any more than they're going to believe the Americans. They're more likely to believe American side of the story than they ever would a Russian. All right. And two, who's he actually helping? All right. I mean, it would just be getting some of his people slaughtered. One of the biggest problems that the Russians had was after the Iraq War. Right, the first Gulf War, rather, not the Iraq War, but the first Gulf War. The Russians lost literally billions and billions of dollars in sales because all their equipment that was supposed to stand up to the Americans' at least to some degree, right? The T-72 tanks, their GPS busting jammers, all that stuff. None of it worked.
T-72 was the shit. Oh, it was awful. God damn.
Wait, was it really that bad, or was it some user error as well?
Let's put
Oh
it
no,
like
it was that bad.
They should have stuck to the T-34s. Let's
Wait,
be honest.
so you're saying their tank technology didn't progress much past like the old World War II?
Okay.
They'd have like 1 million tanks they produce, but they'd just be falling apart and catching on fire.
One of the Iraqi generals from the Republican Guard that we captured during the interrogation, they asked him what part of the war was the worst part of the war, and he said the American armor. And you were like, but the air power didn't do anything. So the planes would fly around, they'd hit a tank here, or they'd hit a tank there. He goes, I lost my entire brigade in less than 15 minutes of the American tank.
Yeah.
Well, the Abrams is a beast.
Okay. He said, first of all, we didn't even know they were in the area, and our tanks started exploding. Okay. Then we had to try and rush forward to try and engage them because they were outside our range. And then when we didn't get in range, we would hit one, and their armor-piercing rounds would stick into the side of the American tanks.
Well, that could be kind of fucked. You know, you're just chilling, winning a war, and then bam, this thing's launched from the side of your fucking your tank or whatever.
Dude, MC, I'm just imagining like Wolverine getting shot in the head and the bullet just falling down like from X-Men.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, the T-72 wasn't that one of the very first Russian tanks to start using like the was it called like reactive armor or something like that?
Yeah, they started putting reactive armor a lot on that afterwards.
Well, no, because I remember like I'm trying to remember. Didn't they? No, they initially put the reactive armor on the tank, but then it turns out it didn't fucking work.
Well, it doesn't work as okay. The American anti-tank rounds, all right, are not the same kind of rounds that the Russians use for anti-tank. Okay, and the reality is a lot of that's because we have a lot more money. We can afford to have titanium and depleted uranium sable rounds. Okay, so you're basically just throwing a hunk of frickin' metal straight through the friggin' tank. Okay. The reactive armor was supposed to it's supposed to create an explosion that would create the explosion of the shape charge round, all right, and prevent it from penetrating like it does. Okay, but once again our stuff is a shape charge to a degree, but really it's also the fact that you're throwing a heavy dense metal slug through the armor. So it wasn't nearly as effective as they expected it to be against the American armament. Against their own armament, their own type of anti-tank shape-charged weapons, was actually very effective.
Well, no, and Iraq held its own against Iran for a long time, and we beat them in, 48 hours?
Well,
at least the second time?
But the reason Iraq and Iran war lasted as long as it did was due to direct U.S. interference. Okay, because what we would do is we would sit up there and we would walk in and go, we've got satellite technology that'll show you where this mass of troops is massing for an attack. Would you like it? Yes, no? I mean, we don't have to give it to you.
By the way,
ooh, piece of candy.
By the way, here's a bunch of weapons.
We did not give them that many weapons. That's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, just the chemical ones.
Yeah.
We didn't even give them chemical weapons.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The British find all this stuff out. It's amazing how good the
it's
British
a sore point
is.
for MC when he has to be like, we didn't give them that many weapons.
We did.
Yeah, that many. Well, what is that many? How many do you think's enough?
We all make mistakes.
Well, let's talk about the optics that all came from you Europeans. That wasn't supposed to be in any of those tanks.
Yes, this is why I come here. Fight. Come on, Cabbage.
It's always the United States that's the big bad boy. But it wasn't the United States that was building those freaking super guns, was it?
Baby.
Where did they get the
I want a fucking super gun. Is that like some master fucking villain gun?
No, Iraq. Saddam was building a cannon with like a 1,200 kilometer or mile range.
Yes.
Holy shit.
shit.
Dude, it was literally like I was
fucking-
like underground, dude. I remember learning about that. I'm like, that's fucking crazy, man.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was fucking Lex Luthor.
He had smaller versions of it operational initially.
Holy fuck.
They only went 70 or 80 miles.
operational.
Yeah, they only went 70 or 80 miles, something like that.
Yeah, only 70 or 80 miles.
And they were throwing like two-ton shells.
Well, actually, no, dude. MC, like those uranium depleted shells. I had some friends who had gone through some duty in Iraq, and they told me that like, yeah, if I fired like 2 or 3 shots from the 50 cal at that Bickford's, it would literally just burn down within like a very fast period of time. Like the entire building would be destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, we had some nice stuff. All right, but those cannons that I'm talking about were built using German frickin' technology using English. All right, steel.
No, Sheffield, the best.
Oh, you gotta give credit where credit's due.
Quality.
Don't get
You're gonna
worried.
do it properly.
American steel, baby.
Well,
Well, they're just
okay, you know, in MC's defense a little bit, Cabbage. Your guys' intelligence service is fucked right now, and I would bet it was fucked a few years ago. Do you even have the intelligence apparatus to find these chemical weapons
Sure, they have
that
Google.
were in Iraq?
They have Google Maps.
No, they knew damn well that. I mean, the whole point was they knew it was a false dossier to begin with. You know, Tony Blair, it was the intelligence agency was saying it was all horseshit. You know,
no,
don't
they
use
weren't.
it.
That is not what
And
they
it
were
was
saying. They were
It
saying
was-
that the
Yeah,
Americans
it was.
were using.
It was. Yeah, but it was Alistair Campbell and the spin doctors in the Blair government that created the dodgy dossier, and they completely misrepresented all the information that was coming in from the intelligence agencies. They completely misrepresented it. That's why they ended up, you know, I mean, that's why nobody takes Tony Blair and any of the claims that people have now seriously. They cried wolf too often.
Yeah.
And we still have American servicemen in Walter Reed Hospital, all right, being treated for chemical weapons.
From when? What? From
Iraq. Yes, from the Iraq.
Oh yeah, well, there's a bunch of people, yeah, because I remember there were people who suffered from it, but that was a sarin. Oh no, it wasn't. Was it sarin? It was a big dump that they found, and it was a recording of it, and it went down. I mean, it actually had the shipping manifest on it, and they blew up one of the storage dumps, and the whole shitload ended up blowing the camp that these people were from. And so they actually basically poisoned themselves because they blew up a storage dump.
Well, yeah, but Cabbage, that didn't happen to everybody. And if you're looking at the first Gulf War, they actually coined the term Gulf War syndrome. I mean, something happened over there. There was some kind of weapon deployed, and I would like to know where exactly they got it from.
And there were major problems.
They were
from
making
people who were
a lot
using
of
the
that stuff can
50,
be
the 50 cals.
A lot of that stuff can be made. All right,
No.
I mean, it's not as
The
hard.
stuff in the storage dumps. No, the stuff in the storage dumps was recorded and rated and labeled. So it wasn't like it was a case of it was homemade. You know, that would have had an Iraqi camp on it.
It's nasty.
It had
nasty
shipping
stuff,
manifests on it.
Well, some of the stuff also really it's more volatile in like was it mixed form, which lasts. I think was it sarin. It lasts so long.
Well,
in its mixed state.
sarin's very, very difficult to once it's mixed because it's very corrosive. All right, which is one of the reasons why we don't. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why we never deployed sarin as one of our nerve agents because it sucks. Okay.
Well, that's why the inside of the canisters. They don't use metal canisters. Well, they have a metal canister.
It's hard to hear it when it keeps cutting in and out, unfortunately.
I'm telling.
Yeah, but I think. Yeah, but he kept repeating metal canister. Aren't all chemical weapons pretty much in medical or metal canisters for deployment? You know, they shoot them out of something across the battlefield.
Well, they're going to be
and,
going to be encased in steel to a point. I mean, it depends on how you're going to deploy the weapon. All right, that's why you have different deployment methods. Sarin is actually better to use some kind of spraying device. Right?
An aerosol be. So has anyone else noticed we are talking about the deployment of chemical weapons on this stream? So I'm just we may want to deviate to a slightly different topic before we completely get shut down for Mad Dodge again.
Nah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, nobody has brought up a certain question. We're all right, right? We're good.
Wait, what?
Oh, nothing, names. You want to come over for a barbecue?
Oh,
Oh my god.
I love ribs.
Jesus Christ.
Beef or pork?
Yeah, now we're definitely gonna shut down.
Definitely not pork, buddy. I'll
right.
be yeah. I'll be sensitive to your community.
Yeah, it'll be ribs all right, but it won't be pork.
What, the beef eating
Yeah.
community?
Oh yeah, totally.
All right, we're brothers then.
Damn it. Yeah, it's all right. I'm on some kill lists. I was raised Catholic. It's all good.
Oh, you're
But
too.
no, yeah, you're right. You're right though. I just want to know who exactly, if those weapons were sold to Iraq. Why would by the Americans? Because prior to the Gulf War, we were supplying them with some weapons to an extent to fight Iran because it was in our interest to do so. But then, as always, in the Middle East, interests change.
Do you want to know the answer to that question?
Yes.
I would say I know the answer. The Americans. MC would say I'm wrong. I would like to hear how I'm wrong.
We did not ship mass amounts of chemical weapons to anybody.
We did not.
The United States would not do that.
We would not.
No.
But would one of our allies?
But this is where people like Khashoggi came in, the arms dealers. You know, all of these dodgy fuckers that appeared back in around that period. And Adnan Khashoggi was well known for his, dodgy dealings around the entire region. I mean, he was the richest man in the world at one point, wasn't he? And everything he did was arms dealing in all around that region.
No person in government would ever do anything unethical.
Oh no, there are people who do their things unethical. That's true, but chemical weapons are not controlled that way. The control of chemical weapons, the controls.
Maybe some Russians might challenge that. I don't know.
Oh, well, really?
You know about the control.
No, it's interesting because
wait a minute. I got a beef here.
Anybody remember? Anyone?
Cabbage, real quick. I have a beef here because if you're traveling down I-5 towards California and you look left at a certain spot along the highway or the freeway, you can see the chemical weapons depository in Eastern Oregon, and it's literally 100 yards, a fence, some chain fucking link shit, and the building. I'm sure if you jump that fence, you're fucked. But still, it is right there.
You're fucked.
I could throw a stone from my car and fucking hit it. It's not a
10-foot thick concrete wall reinforced with steel and adamantium.
Well, actually, the area that he's talking about is a disposal facility. Although he didn't probably know that.
I had heard it was a storage facility, but you're probably more accurate than I am.
It's storage for disposal. Because I was going to say, I'm like, you're not going to store actual chemical agents in an area that small. Yeah. You're going to have like a full basin structure. I mean, that would just be logical to me. But then again, during the collapse of the Soviet Union, I mean, things do happen.
Well, also, I'd like to point out, with regards to the availability, I seem to 9/11. Wasn't there a little issue with anthrax that was being sent? And wasn't that traced back to the manufacturing done in Maryland, in America?
the DNA for the anthrax strains were traced back. That is true.
Maryland, right? So apparently the checks and balances didn't work there. So
No, actually, they did work there.
anywhere
Unfortunately, the checks and balances didn't work because people.
Well, they didn't because somebody got to send it in the fucking post.
Well,
I thought that was ricin.
No,
ricin. Okay, well, whatever it was.
Well,
no,
ricin
is not trackable that way. The DNA that he's talking about from the anthrax did come from Fort.
It was a fingerprint. Yeah. Thank you. See, so
but it was
checks and balances.
But it was sent.
Not guaranteed.
That the anthrax strain that was sent was actually wasn't sent by the military, which is something people don't realize.
Well, it's like CDC
or
one of those.
No, I'm just saying about availability.
That's exactly who.
But it got out of their hands.
Around to all sorts of little groups that were promising to work on vaccines for different strains.
MC just wants to differentiate. It wasn't a military fuck up. It was a fuck up because some legislators.
It was a U.S. screw up. I can't deny that. I mean, that was a U.S. government screw up.
Yeah,
hey, look, no, I was just pointing out the fact that apparently everything is okay because people keep, checks and balances, and apparently,
No, what I was talking about was strictly the chemical.
Compartmentalization.
He is right about the anthrax. And it was enough of a concern that they were giving people during the second engagement in Iraq, they were giving people shots that said shot 1 and shot 2 that were specifically there to combat strains of anthrax.
Huh.
But they won't tell you.
Yeah, which is also what. But that's the reason that you ended up with the Gulf War syndrome, and people have been suing the government, and they won't release the details as to what was, because they know damn well that they're probably actually, going to be liable for the injuries, and then they'll have to pay some VA bills. Holy shit!
Well, they just have to. The standard American policy when it comes to dealing with VA is to delay to see if they die before they actually make it in the door.
Yeah, I was about to say.
They never have an entire floor literally lose structural integrity because there's so much backup paperwork in there.
I mean, again,
it is horrible.
The paper is the structural integrity.
No, well, if they did it on the first floor, maybe. But it does make me sad when it's literally you have like that's calling like the 24-hour suicide hotline, and then they're so backlogged or whatever that they call 3 days later and the person like took their life.
Well, MC, from what I remember, wasn't there an issue about a lot of problems that have existed within government was the fight back against computerization. Like unions and things like that. They wouldn't allow data to be put in. So, there was a major backlog of all of the paperwork because everything had to be done by a paper instead of being computerized.
There was an issue of that. I don't know if it was a union issue per se. Probably.
Couldn't we get the Chinese to help us out because
but
they have all our State Department records? They could just like digitize all that stuff for us.
Well, no, they have digitized it for you. You're the only ones who haven't. You've got it on paper. They've already scanned it.
But actually, going back to nerve agents and stuff in a more relative aspect, what's going on in the UK? So what happened with those folks?
Well, I said it was a nerve agent, didn't I, MC? I said, when we're speculating when it was first happening, I said it sounded like a nerve agent.
I heard two.
Well, again.
No, I heard he was part of a prisoner swap. Did that swap just happen, or did it happen like years ago?
No, it happened years ago.
It's an old thing. It was part of, the, well, not Cold War, but, the usual thing where, you catch one, we catch one.
An exchange, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like playing, cards. It's like Pokemon.
So you gotta catch them all?
It's funny how Putin wouldn't frickin' give us frickin' Snowden, even though we promised to release some of spies if they did.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Snowden's always been a worry.
My reason being is, see, I originally thought when I heard the story was like they did a prisoner exchange and like they kind of just dropped them off and they kind of seemed to be like fucked up, kind of like what done with like was it Otto Warmbier? Over in North Korea.
He had been part of an exchange that was from years ago. Now his daughter basically still lives in Russia, and she had come over to visit her father when this went down. But it had been years since he was active.
Wait a minute.
It seems bizarre. Like, what was Putin's motivation? I mean, was he just exerting like power, or was like it just seems like there's already a lot of pressure? Why the fuck would he do this?
I have another question.
Well, exactly. I think this is MI6. I do not think this is Russia at all. I really don't.
Well, I have another question.
Yeah.
If the UK thinks that Brittany Pettibone, her boyfriend, and Lauren Southern are too radical to allow into the country, why are they letting a spy's fucking daughter come in? A Russian spy's daughter?
He was one of their spies, technically. He was spying for the British.
He was a double agent.
Yeah. He was a double agent. Yeah. He was. So and that's why I say I think this is more MI5, MI6 than it is to do with Russia, and it certainly happened at a very convenient time.
It's a possibility. You can't deny that. All right, but then again, you also gotta look at the fact that Putin was part of the KGB, and the KGB doesn't forget, and they don't forgive either. And the things that he had done, he had basically outed several prominent agents that they had in Britain.
Yeah, but it's when it's happening and why it's happening. I mean, Putin is currently, working with the football thing, to have the World Cup and all this sort of stuff. There's nothing beneficial for Putin for this to happen, right? He's already under the microscope with things like Syria and all the other stuff, right? Especially, funding. So the last thing he needs is for somebody just to go, and start poisoning people in Britain after the Valencia thing as well, already existing. It smacks to me more of MI5 than it does of Putin. It really does. This is like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy bullshit.
I can't deny that it's a possibility, but then again, it's also something that Putin would do. So,
absolutely. That's why it seems so.
I'm not willing to say that Putin wouldn't do.
Yeah, but there was no benefit. He could have done it so much easier.
Well, and unless he knew it would be so obvious.
Are you seriously telling me that the KGB? What do they call them now? Right, that they couldn't have done it in an easier way that would not expose. Yeah, I mean, you really think that they're going to expose the idea that it's going to be them because the chemical could be traced back? God, they could have shot the fuckers. They could have stabbed them in their beds.
This could be
so many other things. Made it look like a mugging.
This could be another blind as well. This could be very well have been an attack by China, just to sit up there and cause blame to go to Russia.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that could possibly throw in this. I mean, the North Koreans have basically shown, hey,
utilizing.
Well, MC, isn't there like a signature or something like they can derive from like the agent or something?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
There's certain chemical tracers that are more common than others, but you can't ever say for 100% certain that this chemical came exactly from here.
Well, isn't it more like kind of like statistically, it kind of looks more like it was sourced from these particular materials who these people had a large amount of it. Because I heard like there was the argument that I guess there's some like treaty or something that basically says if something like this happens, you're supposed to investigate. Because like weren't they asking for like a sample so they could kind of like, in case they misplace some agents at some point?
Yes.
It may have gone somewhere.
You see, means you hit on a very good point there because the UN investigation and the UK government vetoed it. The UK government vetoed an investigation. Yeah, well, no, it's an investigation.
I don't blame them but I don't blame the British for vetoing anything from the UN. The UN can't be trusted with anything. I'm sorry, they can't be.
You just hate world peace, MC. Admit it.
He just wants world government. That's what he wants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'd be. I'm so wanting world government. That's why I'm against the UN.
Well, because it's not your UN. You want to lead the world
okay.
government.
No, you are. You want, yeah.
No,
That's right.
MC
You
wants
still
world peace, I
want,
believe. I
you
just
still
believe
want
he sees a lot of folks in the way.
authoritarian rule. You still want the government, massive government.
I do not want massive government rule and never have. Said this many times.
I know. We just like to pigeonhole you. It's okay.
Well, no,
I'm
no,
the
no.
crazy guy that yells at roads even though we were driving on one today.
I'm just imagining
Oh,
it's like my dad, the
and
road killer.
I want to take a moment to say this. Fuck motorcycle gang members. All right. Like, I'm not going to say the name of the local biker gang, but this asshole with his cut on was weaving in and out of fucking traffic on Beltline today. We damn near hit his dumb ass. Fucking moron.
My apologies.
Yeah, no, like, and he's weaving through traffic going like 75, riding his motorcycle with one hand. Like, you fucking idiot. You accidentally tap our fucking bumper and you're going to fly.
I may or may not have ridden motorcycles, maybe not always the safest ways.
No, and then they bitch when they get hit. Like, motherfucker, you're the one weaving in traffic.
The one thing they teach you in motorcycle like training and stuff is literally, it's like you're in a car, you're surrounded by steel and tempered glass. You're on a bike, it's you and your gear, and in case you get hit, you get the fuck away from that bike because you're going to get caught up under that and you lose limbs, man. I've met dudes like that. But yeah, you should be safe while driving a bike. Riding a bike.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got his cut on and stuff, so you know he thinks he's Billy Badass. Like, it's just, goddamn.
No, you can't always judge. Dude, I'll be straight up, dude. I know some folks that are in some different clubs and stuff. And yeah, you can get some really hard guys. But it's like anything, man. There could be an asshole anywhere, part of any group. That's just part of life. It's just when, dude, I literally know some of these folks, like mean folks, like you see them riding around, you would be thinking that. And these are the same guys that, like, right before Christmas, they will literally go into the local projects and give, like, children, like, gifts. Like, not their parents. They'll literally go up to the children and just hand them presents and stuff like that. Like, these dudes that you see at a bar drinking stuff, throwing stuff back, being like, oh, my God, oh, they're going to start trouble. It's like, some folks will start trouble, but it's like, usually, unless you're starting shit, most of these folks are pretty chill.
Yeah, I've been to the Hells Angels clubhouse in Sacramento. My mom was dating a Hells Angel for a little bit, but that's not the club. That's a local one around here. That's why I'm not going to say nothing. And they're not really too into crime. You know, just their normal amount of crime that goes with the MC.
So
it's just
may say nominal statistical distribution of folks. By that I mean there are some assholes, but most are good people.
Yeah, no, and they do the same shit here. They have, you know, bike runs for Toys for Tots and all that shit, you know. I don't like motorcyclists fucking weaving in front of me when I have two of my kids in the car. Like, we left most of the kids with grandma, but it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I had some friends that would do stuff like that back in the day. I'm like, dude, you're doing this at like 7:30 at night, man. Like, this is rush hour. This is like moms driving their kids home and shit. I'm like, if you do it at 2:30 in the morning and you're the only person on the road and you kill yourself, I'm like, well, that's your choice.
But anyway, I bitched about motorcyclists enough. 40 ounce. Do you have a second story? Or actually, just my stupid opinion, dude. I haven't heard your on what happened. Isn't Lauren Southern a Canadian citizen?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How do you feel about Canadian journalists not being allowed into the UK when you're a member of the Commonwealth? Isn't that bullshit?
Oh, absolutely. And I find the thing is too is they obviously misrepresented Lauren Southern. Like, it's wrong to put her on as to say she's part of the alt-right. So number one, that's my big problem with it. And yeah, number two, we're now starting to reject journalists from countries simply because they don't carry favorable opinion. So we're not going to see this problem when it comes to mainstream media. You know, it's not like somebody like the CBC is going to get kicked out of entering Britain, but we're definitely going, like, we're not going to be seeing any dissenting opinions coming from there. What's weird about this too is this is, well, quote unquote, the conservative government of Britain.
Yeah.
It's an anachronism. It's an oxymoron. Yeah. It's,
well.
yeah.
To be fair, as one of the lords from the House of Lords said to Tommy Robinson, she was kind of naughty.
You know, whatever. As long as I can do my fox hunting, we're all good.
Oh God.
Well, it's like roaming. Was it roaming Milan? Who was the other girl that who was coming over?
Brittany.
Brittany Pettibone.
Yeah, Tommy Robinson. You know, again, no justification for refusing somebody just to come in and talk to somebody.
It's
you
a
know,
dangerous
full
precedent.
got a visa, it's hideous. It's absolutely, but it's been happening for quite a while, if you remember, with things like lecturers, where they've been denied. And yet, weirdly enough, they allow some imam to come in and hate speech in mosques, and he gets away with it, like Abu Hamza, you know, but some other guy going in to point out maybe that's not a good idea, then gets banned and, you know, charged with hate crime or something.
Well, yeah,
nonsense.
and the thing is, Cabbage, I can see somebody like me. I do a panel show. We make horrible jokes, and we have a good time, and we're a little edgy. I can see them maybe kicking my American ass out at the border, but a member of the Commonwealth? What's it even mean to be in the Commonwealth now? It's pointless.
Well, that's
right?
the first thing. That's the first thing I said about this. You know, when they can take Law and Southern and you know, as a Canadian, as a member of the British Commonwealth, it just shows you they have absolute contempt for any of the, you know, what we would consider to be the normal social graces. The standards have gone completely out of the window. It's arbitrary now. It really doesn't matter. It's just at the whim of, you know, some action group that happens to make enough noise.
So we've devolved people into memes.
Yeah.
Lauren Southern is the girl that fired an incendiary device, aka a flare gun, at a boat that was well out of range.
Yeah.
She did fire an incendiary device, so I mean, if anything, I mean, maybe you cite something like that. Like, and to be fair, I mean, she probably kind of was looking to stir up some trouble, depending on your definition of trouble.
Well, you know, on bonfire night, I was the holder of weapons of mass destruction because I had some fireworks. So, I mean, I must have had willful intent there, right?
Absolutely. Turn yourself in.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I thought... I was just going to say, I thought the more
like a renegade.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that this week, that story was bad enough, but I personally thought, did you guys see that story that came out maybe at most a month ago? That dude got arrested for being, he was arrested for like hate speech or something, but he was being critical of the Muslim rape gangs that are in Britain. So
yeah, that's Tommy Robinson.
Was it Tommy Robinson?
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, if it's not Tommy Robinson, I mean, there's bunches of people because everyone's pointing out the fucking obvious, and apparently the police can't cope with it.
Hold on, I'll see if I can pull up the actual article. But yeah, it was like some random online dude literally got arrested by British police because he was being critical, like he was like speaking out against Islamic rape
things.
Yeah. That happens, yeah. Well, he didn't even have to say mean things. Actually, all you have to do is point out facts these days, which is why Tommy Robinson is, you know, it's so embarrassing because, yeah, he doesn't actually say anything about Muslims. He just talks about Islam. He never mentions a race. He only talks about an ideology.
Well, yeah, no, I saw a little snippet of an interview with him, and he's like, you know, being Muslim is not a race. I'm not racist. I'm against their ideology, their ideas. You know, like, this is ridiculous, and you know, blah blah blah. You know.
No, I mean, this has always been the case. If you say anything about Islam, it's immediately that you are a racist. That has nothing to do with it. It's always been an annoyance with me that people just abuse the language in such a way. You know,
well, you just enforce the law.
So why
Yeah.
should Canada and Australia remain members of the Commonwealth if there is no
Sorry.
benefits, such as easy immigration or easy access to your borders?
Oh no, there's never been that. You've always had to get visas and things. I couldn't emigrate to New Zealand, Canada, and Australia. Are bloody hard to get. They're just as hard to get into as me moving to America. They always have been.
But could you?
Because they have their own. Well, they have their own government.
Can't you have
They set their own
tourism
rules.
though freely? Like usually, if you're a member of the Commonwealth, you could easily
absolutely.
get in.
Not
Yeah.
always.
And if she'd have
because
said, well,
What?
no, if it's tourism, you just need to apply for a visa. I mean, but then now what we have is a precedent that a tourist can now be rejected for their political opinions, and that's fucking horrendous.
You've been doing that for for decades already.
Well,
At least with
true enough, it
Americans.
has. Yeah, and the same way, vice versa. The INFAS has lobbied for your government to eject people who managed to get there. Tommy Robbins is another example of that. He managed to leave the country. The American government let him in, and then the British government asked for him to be extradited.
So they wanted him back.
For what crime?
Yeah. Well, exactly, none, but
Okay.
just because.
So they could give him a hard time in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what happens
But
when you
his-
don't
his
get rid of
daughter
John
was
Lennon
blind.
when you
That
freaking could have
sounded
back in the
horrible.
70s.
Yeah, well, fuck you. You had bloody Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all the other fucking,
Yeah, but we didn't need freaking Johnny and Yoko. Or Yoko,
we-
whatever her freaking
we didn't need
name was.
Yoko, and Yoko was a fucking Japanese American, wasn't she, or Korean American? That's the
Well,
one that
besides-
tainted him.
Wasn't she Chinese from Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know. Well, either way, it was it was corruption.
As members of the patriarchy, let's leave Yoko out of it.
When he went to India, we never should have let him back in the country. Oh, everyone loves the Beatles. Screw the Beatles.
Yeah,
the Beatles sucked.
fucking
The
hippies.
only Beatle that should have been allowed in America was George Harrison.
Oh, come on,
Really?
Ringo.
Even Paul McCarthy, eh?
Ringo never did any harm to anyone.
Yeah, leave
okay,
poor Ringo
that's
out of
true.
this.
Ringo did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know that.
No, Ringo didn't. But
I've always been more of a Stones fan anyway when it comes to those two bands. I'll take the Rolling Stone.
and I'll take the Stones and the Who. Yeah, and the Sex Pistols.
Give me the Dave Clark 5.
Oh, the Doors.
Yeah.
you could
The-
keep
the
Johnny
Doors are
Rotten
good.
as well.
Johnny
Of course,
Rotten
he
was
killed
sad.
him, so it doesn't really. Well, he killed himself, but I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Wait, when you say killed himself, did he do it the
Drugs.
Hillary
Yeah.
Clinton style? You know,
Uh,
two shots to the back of the head.
He spoke to
No.
WikiLeaks.
Drugs. OD'd.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not suicide. That's being stupid. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just an unconscious suicide. No, basically, it's just being irrepressible. Like Moon.
I just think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't want to be turned around because I want to go see Stonehenge and they saw my fucking stupid live stream. You know what I mean?
No, you'd be fine, honestly. You wouldn't have any problem whatsoever. I mean, these are people who are.
And as he steps off the plane, there'll be cabbage. That's him! There he is! Get him!
That's it. Fuck it. No, he'll just be joking. I'll just be saying, could you come with me, sir?
Yes. As he's being torn away, he's like, Cabbage doxed me. And you can sit up for your insanity defense.
No, I couldn't because I'd be guilty by association because I'd have funded him. I've already funded him. So it would, you see? It
You
would fuck up
colluded.
the court case, yeah. I'd be a colluder. So he could say that it was a honey trap.
That's going down a really
It
dark
was
place.
entrapment.
Cabbage.
I know, that's right.
Badger.
I was just luring him into my den of iniquity. I was going to convert him.
All right, 40. Sorry about that. I swear the babies time it to where I hit that unmute button and then they make a loud noise. It could be quiet for 20 minutes before that. But 40, you have a couple more stories.
You
wanna
should get a
pick up on the
stun
next
gun.
one?
You're not going to stun gun.
Oh gosh, I don't even really know which one to do. Both are so yummy.
Yummy. What the fuck?
Oh,
When did you turn into Will?
Go with the spicier one.
Let's get. Oh gosh, but that's the fucking good part. I'll tell you what. Tonight's theme seems to be assassination, so we'll stick with that, right? So this is from the BBC, and the headline reads: "Hacker who gave up WikiLeaks source dies under mysterious circumstances." An online
Wait,
message.
What a surprise.
I heard many people. What was that?
Was that Latifa Al Matoum?
This is Adrian Lamo.
Okay.
I think is how you say that. So, in an online messaging conversation, Manning confided in him. Chelsea Manning, or the Manning, yeah, confided in him.
Bradley. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even remember the other name. Describing confidential military material Manning had sent to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks published the video of a U.S. helicopter strike that killed 7 people, including a journalist working for the Reuters news agency. Excuse me, I can't read all of a sudden. The cause of Reuters. The cause of Lamo's death, confirmed to the BBC by a Sedgwick County coroner in Kansas, has not yet been made public. On Facebook, his father Mario wrote, "Yeah, we're so sad, and like it's totally tragic." Going forward,
Is that an exact quote?
no, it's not.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Okay, you're paraphrasing. Holy shit.
Well, no. I mean, compassionate soul, loved starving children, stuff like that, right? So, speaking to the Guardian newspaper in 2011, Lamo described his decision to give up Manning as, quote, "not one I decided to make, but was thrust upon me." Lamo said he would have lasting regret if Manning was handed a long sentence. Manning was known as the time as Bradley Manning, eventually sentenced to 35 years in prison. However, Barack Obama, blah, 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 shortened the sentence. Now running to become Senator of Maryland, yada, yada. So basically, this guy died, and he gave up Manning to the government instead of just keeping his mouth shut, essentially. Also behind the hacks of the Microsoft and New York Times as well. So, all very interesting things. But yes, he mysteriously died.
They didn't give like a cause of death. That's what it says.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This was a counter.
Yeah, how did he die?
WikiLeaks operation.
No one knows. And
So WikiLeaks got upset because they outed one of their sources, so they got rid of him.
Probably.
Yeah, but there must be a cause of death. I mean, what is the cause of death? And where was he living at the time?
Apparently, he was killed in Kansas.
Yeah, Sedgwick County, Kansas.
From an airstrike?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No. Hold on. So Manning, how should I put this? Manning went to WikiLeaks with a video of a U.S. helicopter strike that killed 7 people, including a journalist working for Reuters. So Manning went to WikiLeaks at the time, and she had also confided in this Adrian Lamo guy. And he decided to snitch, and, well, we all know what snitches get.
Yeah, but how did the snitch die? Sorry, how did the guy die? I mean, there must be something.
No one
shot or car accident or something.
Well, no, that's the thing. No one has said anything yet.
That makes it
That's probably the weirdest part of it all.
Yeah.
How do you spell his name?
I mean, they always say he died, and then they give a description of how you died. Even if it's the most stupid
how do you say
thing.
Lamo?
It's Adrian Lamo, Lamo.
Hold on. MC's releasing his nanobots to do a test.
I was gonna say, well, and this article is, I think, about 24 hours old now, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, when people find somebody dead, they at least say it's in suspicious circumstances, or I mean, there's something pretty obvious, like he shot himself in the head.
Well, you still need a coroner's report and stuff. So
exactly.
The coroner has confirmed his death, but refuses to release the circumstances.
Huh.
So they know the circumstances.
Well, either that or they're investigating it.
Well, I mean, they have to let the family know and stuff like that. And isn't that like on the family if they want to be revealed or?
He has a perchance for roaming around the United States on Greyhound buses.
Because everybody knows the Greyhound is tons of fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe he died from an infection. I mean, the people who ride on those, that maybe it was a chemical attack.
Yeah, he sit on a needle.
I like trains.
Yeah.
That was a way.
Greyhound. If you pull into Sacramento at 3 a.m., it's not fun.
No, it isn't.
That was a Forrest Gump comment. I like trains.
What? Oh, that was a Harry Potter comment.
What?
I like train. I like buses.
You know what it could be?
I like red balloons.
Because he's also been known for hacking into Yahoo.
Yeah, it was New York Times, Yahoo, and Microsoft.
He hacked one too many times, and he got into a Google account, and can't have that.
Maybe.
Oh, so maybe it was a Google assassination.
Bezos took him out, man. It's Bezos who did it.
Well, Google has drones. Oh, wait, did he hack Amazon? We know they have drones.
Yeah. Yes, but yeah, so he literally died just today. So maybe we'll see. But it's a I don't know, it was something that caught my eye because it's a tale of intrigue, really. This is someone who's a notorious hacker and who snitched on Manning and is associated with WikiLeaks and fucking all this other jazz. So it's something that's
really... None of this
so
would be an issue if
got
we shot that son of a bitch before we even sent him back to the United States.
And they'll probably try and tie him to the dark web. I bet you they try and tie him to the dark web. They love using that in headlines. If you're caught
spying, according to the UN, if you're caught spying, they can execute you with summary execution. They don't even have to take you to trial.
In the United States?
The UN?
Yeah, well, you just said...
Geneva, that's the Geneva
It wasn't...
Wait, I thought the Geneva Convention was all about
MC,
protecting people and shit. They're like, oh, you find a spy, hang that motherfucker.
MC, you just said that the UN don't trust anything for the fucking UN. Now you're using the UN as justification. So fuck you.
No, I was just pointing out the fact that the Geneva Convention, which has not the UN, by the way. All right.
Yes, which is also which America is not a signatory to.
We are a signatory to some of the Geneva.
No,
I don't know about the latest one. You might be right on because the one that banned
fuck off.
The one that banned landmines we won't sign.
Which was a long time ago. And also cluster munitions. That's years ago. You are not a fucking signatory to the Geneva Convention.
Christ, I swear to God, they're gonna ban guns and we're gonna go back to beating each other with sticks and rocks.
Good. Then you actually have to look eye to eye. Then you don't use it so often. You actually feel some pain.
No thanks. If I'm gonna kill someone, I want it to be from a distance. I want to have a little bit of disassociation.
Yeah.
People are so willing
to use violence when it's all going to be meted upon them.
No, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. You lack the courage of your convictions, sir. You own swords and you refuse to use them?
Well, I don't know.
Swords? I have an axe.
Well, no, here's the thing, right?
I have a pinking hammer. I have plenty of things.
Here's the thing, right? I sleep naked, so my strategy is to just kind of run out there swinging both my swords. So,
where did you get the sword from, 40?
He bought it from his girlfriend.
Is it Sheffield Steel?
So where's he pulling the sword out of?
well, to be fair, if he's naked, he'll have maximum dexterity modifier applied.
Damn fucking right.
Yeah, you're like one of those Celtic warriors. That's fucking scary. Get all
the berserkers?
Jesus. Not the bearded barbarian. Fuck
so basically, he goes to bed, paints himself in blue. And
I'm sorry, but that is no better than being a furry.
I prefer the term scaly.
Could you imagine all that blue fucking face paint all over that Sargon pillow? 40, you're fucking that pillow up.
Hey, listen,
Oh,
right? I
God.
don't mind being called like a Celtic savage, but I fucking swear to God, you call me a furry one more time, I'm not a fucking degenerate. Jesus.
Nobody's perfect.
I thought you got offended about the Sargon pillow comment.
No.
Bitch, wear it.
Best $20 I ever spent. God damn it. I'll stand by that fucking pillow.
You want to cover yourself in blue woad, I'll call you a furry.
But yeah.
Wait. So, Cabbage, are you a veggie?
Oh,
What do
no,
you
I do
consider
eat meat.
yourself?
No, I'm the opposite. That's the whole point. I don't want people to eat me, which is why my face is so cute and lovely. You don't want to eat me.
He's a cannibal. He eats his own kind.
So he's like a praying mantis.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You get invited to the Queen's house to feast on babies, don't you? That's what's going on. I figured it out.
Mad Dodge. It's only a modest proposal.
Mad Dodge, why do you think I keep trying to convince you to sell a couple of yours to the Queen? Well, you know, Whitsuntide is coming. We need to
They've been
feed.
tenderized in organ fed is what'll be stamped on them at the order.
Free range.
FDA approved. We want to see the FDA approved on the arse. On those fuckers branded.
So MD, just please remember to categorize this as satire and comedy.
Yeah, I might have to redo the description. I had no description. I didn't know the stories. I just put news and politics. So we'll be switching that to eating babies and the Queen is a lizard.
She's not a lizard. The Macho Man is a lizard.
God damn it. All right. This is gonna be my last story, and then I'm gonna head off. It's getting a little late for me. But this is from New York Times, and it says cyber attacks put Russian fingerprints on the switch at the power plants. U.S. says. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I think it was two days ago. A bunch of nuclear power plants were presumably hacked by Russians. So the Trump administration has accused Russia on Thursday of engineering a series of cyber attacks targeted at American and European nuclear power plants and water and electric systems. Oh, I didn't know about the water and electric. That's interesting. They could have sabotaged or shut the power plants down at their will. Interesting. United States officials.
Hang on a second. They discovered this when?
This article is dated the 15th, but I believe it actually happened on the 14th.
Okay.
So it kind of coincides with more recent sanctions a bit.
Yeah, this is all, like I said, it's like this Russian smokescreen, and you know, most of it's the same thing as they did with Ukraine, you know, with the annexation and stuff, because things were going tits up in Syria. They needed a distraction. Russia is the mass distraction now. Apparently, Russia is accountable for anything and everything. It's pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, if in doubt, Russia.
Well,
Yeah,
ever
much.
since the time of the Soviet Unions, Russians have been the masters of propaganda. I mean, they were one of the first to realize that things like radio and TV could be used to control the masses.
Well, MTV helped collapse the Soviet Union, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't Star Wars at all.
No, it was
Wow.
Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead brought down Russia.
Well, the video killed the radio star, and it's a sad day now for music.
Hey, Wolfie.
I'm just saying.
Hey, Wolf. How you
Hey.
doing,
What's going on,
buddy?
Wolf?
Hello.
Blaze Donuts
What's
and
up?
Bomb Kush, how are y'all?
Yeah.
Chilling.
Yeah.
we were talking about assassinations and lizards.
Yeah, and babies.
Yeah, and before that, we told you how they released a nerve agent. It's been a really busy stream for being spur of the moment.
Fuck.
You
Yeah.
missed.
Yeah.
What's the good word, Wolf?
Nothing much. Was I asked a question?
I don't know what type of
No,
what type of kush.
Fuck.
I had some platinum a little while ago.
Oh my god, I don't. This cool ass neighbor chick upstairs. She's just like, hey, come up. I've got some green for you and shit, and she just gave it up. It was cool.
So she's like Canada. She's like your cool.
You
neighbor
live in
to
like
the
a
north.
lesbian compound or something.
Or no, she's not gay.
Lesbian compound.
Not-
That's awesome.
Fuck.
God.
Could you imagine the security at that fucking place? That
Yeah,
would
you-
be insane.
Yeah, you couldn't get into that fucking place. It'd be like Helen Keller trying to find pussy.
You may get dragged in against your will, but
So, yeah, she gave me some, and yeah. Today was not a good day for me though. My dog Bandit went into surgery because he broke both
Aw.
bones in both back legs.
Oh,
Shit. And he's like a little Pomeranian, and yeah, you say whatever you want about my faggot dog, but
oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that dog so much, and with small animals, you can't put him under for very long. It was like a 2-hour surgery, so I was worried. But he's out, so I decided to let go a little.
How long are they going to be in casts?
He's they're saying a month, but they're really positive about it. I guess it was a good break to have, I suppose. I don't know. It's gonna heal well.
Well, that's good. That's good news. I mean, if there's going to be, if you got to have any kind of news like that, it's better to be something like that where it's a break that's easy to fix.
But yeah, I'm just having a good time, guys.
Shit, dude, you want to put your dog down for a while? Just give him whatever the fuck you're smoking. God damn.
well, they
No, like-
do make cannabis for dogs.
Oh, I know. Is this like she comes in? The first thing she's like, "Yeah."
No. You don't like blaze it or anything like that. No, like have you guys seen that infomercial for that stuff you put in a dog's water bowl? Like a couple of drops takes away their arthritis. They
Yeah.
actually have a cannabis version of it.
Memes. It's like talking to like the fucking nerdiest guy in school when he says like blaze it. You know what I'm saying? It's that fucking meme with Steve Buscemi comes around the corner and is like, "Hey, you
poor
young
kids."
kids."
I may or may not resemble Steve Buscemi right now.
Wow.
God damn.
No, dude, no. Here's the thing. This is what really pissed me off about like scheduling marijuana as a Schedule 1 drug and stuff. So we were just drinking, smoking a bit, and we just kind of threw that out there. And then I Googled it, and I'm looking it up, and then all of a sudden I see this thing, and I'm like, wait, didn't I see an infomercial for this? So I click on it, and it's basically the same thing. Put a couple of drops in your dog's water bowl, helps take away their pain. And then I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, then I go to the other actual infomercial one, and the infomercial one is the exact same thing, except it uses this thing called NSAID. Basically an NSAID, which is the NSAID inhibitors, which is basically ibuprofen and stuff. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, and the only real difference of it was
One works
like,
and one doesn't.
well, the cannabis one was about a third the price, and it doesn't destroy your liver. So I'm like, no wonder this shit's illegal. People are making billions. I don't know, it bothered me. Yeah, I mean, if that was the reason, I'm sure there were much better reasons to
Well, I
to
mean,
outlaw marijuana.
if you mix ibuprofen and naproxen sodium together for like a quick pain relief, like you got a muscle hurt, muscle strain,
Yeah.
or a sprained knee or something like that, it works awesome. Okay, it's amazing how well that works. Unfortunately, it also destroys your heart muscle. All right, so it'll take away your pain until the heart attack happens, and then the pain will be, I guess, sudden and and quick and kind of over with, and you won't be in pain anymore. But
So what you're saying is it's like investing in Bitcoin.
yeah, pretty much.
My rose.
Oh
My
god.
rose.
Oh jeez.
Anyway, stone dogs are fun. I remember at university, I had a friend, and his dog ate his stash. and that was the happiest dog you've ever seen. It was
Oh,
mental.
No, this shit was bullshit, right? I was living with one of my best friends, okay, and we were roommates. I was paying half the rent and stuff.
He means his mom.
His cat kept eating his weed, and he came to me one day and started flipping out on me. I'm like, dude, I would never steal from you. Like, what the fuck, man? He's like, yeah, well, you got to fucking move out. And then the next day, he walked into his room, and there was this cat eating his weed. He had to come back and fucking apologize. He's like, dude, I'm sorry. I was like, I was shocked. I was like, dude, I didn't rip you off. Like, what the fuck? Like, his cat literally would go onto his bed and go into the little cupboard and eat his stash.
Dude, they love it. They love it, dude. If I have a bag like lying on the bed or stuff, my cat takes a nap on it.
So basically, this is how you put your pets to sleep.
No, that's how I lose my weed.
Yeah, we don't want to. No
Priorities, bro.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever smoked MC, but you don't want the fucking cat to eat your stash. That's the last thing you want. Like, fuck that cat. I think he got rid of the cat. He was like, fuck you.
He chose weed over the cat.
Kick it out. You're out of here, pal. You're on your own, weed stealing cat. Did he sell the cat? Did he put it up for adoption? Please take it off my hands.
He put it up for prostitution on Craigslist.
Was the cat's name Heathcliff? Because remember,
no. Funny thing, the cat's name was Justice.
Jesus.
Oh,
his name was What a dick cat that one was.
Was he Canadian cat?
What's with your shots of Canada, man?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I
Canadian cat.
Not Canadian, exactly. Klondike cat.
That was a macroaggression. My apologies.
Fuck it. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
No, it was called Trudeau.
What about Trudeau?
I think we lost our humor.
Wow, I thought that was just.
I said it was
being
called
high.
Trudeau. No.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on him, man.
You know.
Did he teach the cat how to act?
That's what I'm saying. Nobody got the joke. Never mind.
We couldn't hear it because you were breaking up so bad.
Well, I said Trudeau. You can understand Trudeau.
Well, that's all we heard was Trudeau. Okay, Trudeau what?
Exactly.
And I'm the high one over here, guys.
You were talking about the. You were talking about the name. I said Trudeau. That should have been all you needed. Come on.
Heathcliff, no
The
one should.
moment has passed.
Well, no. Let's get you started on Trudeau, sir. What's your thoughts on your prime minister?
Oh God! How much time do you have? Oh,
I got a little bit.
And by the way, don't call him a him because he's already said it's all about inclusive pronouns.
That's right. So this person,
just call him JT.
JT, yeah. No, I absolutely hate Justin Trudeau, JT. He is in just the 2 years since he's come into office, he's eroded so many of our rights. It's unbelievable. He's moved us.
He's French, that's why.
Exactly, and it shows too, man. Because he's in just a couple of years, he's moved us almost completely to a social. Our fucking budget, that was just released a few weeks ago, had over 350 mentions of gender in it. Just in the budget.
What?
So then this guy, in the budget it had 300
with currency. What's the gender of currency?
It's all about helping genders, man. Because anybody who's not white and not male apparently can't make it in our society. So they're just throwing shit ton of money at it.
But you're supposed to represent the folks. If you need to take care of the folks, why are you excluding folks? Exactly.
It actually was not perceived well by many. It lowered more of his popularity, actually. On top of that, he's like his basic things that he's it's basic things that he's not doing that he should be. He's not securing our border. He's investing some 200 I want to say it's 200 million in dealing with illegal immigrants. 200 billion.
Wait. No, I want to ask. I got you. Are you talking about illegal Americans? Is that what's going on?
No, even like technically not. A lot of our illegal immigrants that we've dealt with were the when Trump was taking away like the Haitian temporary protective status. We just saw a mass all of them just headed north, and then we were just having thousands of immigrants passing over our borders every month, and it got to the point where we were having slums in those areas. It was all
Underground
at one point.
Railroad.
Just about, man. Like it became like there were literally tent cities set up along the border. We were housing more than 1,000 of these illegal immigrants in this old like Olympic stadium from like 1982 or something. That thing's been falling apart since ever since the Olympics ended. We were housing them in there. And right now, actually, this can go back to what we were talking a little bit about before, because you mentioned the Commonwealth and like what about immigration. We're handing out citizenships to everybody left, right, and center. Yet my buddy, Sean, who's from England, we worked together. That's how I met him. He actually had to stop working for a few months because he was having trouble getting his working visa reinstated. Trudeau is moving this completely towards, he's really pandering to the Islamists.
Okay, so once we see a rise of a far-right party in Canada, we know the world's going to shit.
Yep. And there's no far-right party in Canada yet, but there are starting to have far-right groups that are coming up. So sooner or later, it's probably going to happen.
Well, and the only Canadian media I really see is the Rebel. How significant is their presence up there? I know that's where they're from, but do they have a big following?
Rebel Media? Yeah, they've got a pretty big following in Canada. I mean, they're still being a lot of the people in the mainstream media and others will talk about how they're far right, alt right. Although I don't see how that's quite possible. The leader is a Jew, but like the person who runs the whole organization is a Jew. But all right then. But yeah, no, Rebel actually has a pretty big presence up here amongst the right wingers. And one of the reason is because we don't have the same. We don't have the same secondary opinions that are available with American politics. You can go just about anywhere on YouTube and find that secondary commentary and that sort of alternative media. There's not really that available up here.
Well, to be fair, I believe the alt-right is actually inclusive because I believe the head of the Daily Stormer is also Jewish.
Wait, really?
Are you kidding me?
It'd be funny if it was true.
Well, either that or maybe it was his wife who ended up his marriage fell apart or something.
Who is the leader?
Basically, he's alt-right because his Jewish wife set up there and burned him or something.
Well, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I think it was actually a very sad story how basically when stuff ended up coming out, he gained popularity.
Wrong, bro?
What? Oh, there's shit tons of stuff wrong with me. Have you met me?
Yeah. Let Canada. I remember we were talking about Canada and how shitty it is, or something.
Well, I'm a Jew. Obviously, it's always going to go back to talk about Nazis. I mean, just.
We were talking about Rebel Media and Gavin McGinnis, right?
Well, Gavin left, which is
I know, but that's the only reason why Rebel Media got as big as it did.
Well, I liked. I watched Gavin, I watched Faith Goldie, and I watched Lauren Southern. Now they're all gone, and just Esri Levant is left, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, a lot of the other ones that are still around aren't nearly as good. Although I gotta say, I hate the name of Gavin McGinnis's new show, Get Off My Lawn. Like, I don't know. I think that's a terrible fucking name.
Do you know where it's from?
What's that? No, aside for the fact that, like, I saw his first episode and he's kind of explained that he's becoming an old man.
You have to watch Gran Torino. Clint Eastwood essentially tells a bunch of gooks or some shit to get off his lawn.
Yeah, that's okay. I have seen that. Yeah, but that's what it's from. Oh,
Gran
okay,
Torino.
fair enough. Because yeah, when I saw his first episode, he just went on about how he's getting an old man now, and he does actually care about his lawn. So I know it was a metaphor, but I thought it was a bad metaphor.
It was.
Well, and I think that should be MC's show, not Gavin's. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
MC show should be. Well, you know what's pissing me off today?
You know what grinds my gears?
No, I will not go that way.
Fucking Democrats. That's all it would be about. It'd be like fucking Democrats, fucking commies, fucking Democrats. There's them.
So the same thing.
For what? What?
You said Democrats, so we're pretty much talking about the same thing.
Leave the girl alone. She's high.
I don't have a problem with Democrats. I'm more liberal than. I mean, I'm more conservative than most lesbians. How about that?
We're all a little liberal.
But I'm still pretty liberal.
Not MC. MC, he's not liberal. But no,
he has a soul.
He could be a perfect co-host for Gavin, I think. But no, stay on the Redeye. Never mind. What am I saying? Like, I don't want you graduating up to Gavin.
We need MC to do one segment on Fox News where he blows up and he just drops Redeye YouTube.
And then starts calling someone a pussy.
Yeah.
Like that one dude on Fox.
I have no problem doing that.
Well, that guy called Barack Obama a pussy. That's what it was.
He just wasn't a very good manager.
Was it accurate? I would say so.
What is? I don't know.
Okay, first of all, as much as I badmouth Barack Obama, all right, and I don't like him as a president, he was a horrible president. He's the worst president we've had in my lifetime, which was saying a lot because I also remember Jimmy Carter. Okay.
See, only fucking.
Whoa, he's worse than Jimmy?
Yes.
MC is allergic to peanuts.
Fucking Democrats. The Democrats.
Okay. But as bad as Barack Obama was, there are times when he did make accurate assessments and accurate decisions, not the least of which is when he ordered the SEALs team to take out those groups that were holding those pirates that were holding what's that guy's name? The captain hostage. All right.
They made a movie about that, didn't they?
Captain Phelps.
Look at me. Look at me. I am the captain now.
That was a good movie.
But I liked Obama. He was funny.
He was a nice guy.
No.
What?
I would never say that.
Nice guy.
Oh
he wasn't a nice fucking guy.
He seemed like a nice guy. Maybe he was a dick. I don't know. I never met him.
You hear these fucking pussy ass baby crybabies over here like, oh my god, not Barack Obama. He's the worst thing to blah blah blah.
Wait a minute though. No.
You want me to go into it?
He sat in a church for like 10 years where they were preaching black supremacy and how white people are devils. How the hell did he end up being president?
Couple of rants from his old. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but what about fucking what's his name, David Duke? He was in the KKK, and we all knew it.
Yeah.
So was Byrd.
Yeah, so was Robert Byrd, and David Duke was never president.
Well, I mean,
I don't remember
Hillary Clinton did admire Senator Byrd.
So
I didn't think it was that bad, but you guys can piss him out all you want to. Because it's not like, Donald Trump isn't going to save you. He's not, no.
Wolfshot.
He's going to do,
Wolfshot. Come on, you know damn well I'm not a Trump supporter. Don't do that. Come on.
Donald Trump so far has been far better than Barack Obama.
That's your fucking opinion, sir.
He may get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. Yeah,
oh
right.
Oh my God!
The only way that Donald Trump could get a Nobel Peace Prize would be if he actually settles the Middle East peace, and I don't see that happening.
Wait! You don't think they give it to him for North Korea? He really has to solve the Middle East, man.
No, and I don't think he would deserve it for doing that either.
For North Korea, really?
Really?
But President Obama got it for saying nice things.
No. Do you even have to deserve it anymore? Don't they just hand that shit out to the most popular person at the time?
Well, the most popular leftist. What did you say? Shut.
I didn't say anything.
They hand it out to the most popular leftist, yes.
Oh.
But no, I wanted to hear more about how Trudeau is evil. Like, wasn't he just a drama teacher? like that's below even a community organizer. We were talking about Obama. I mean, how the hell did you guys like elect him? What's going on up there, dude?
What are you talking about? How are you going to bitch about what they've elected, considering what we've elected? Right? I mean, you could go up and down our freaking electoral process and the elected people in office right now. And you're going to sit up there and bitch about who somebody else elected? Come on.
I'm actually trying to get him on the conversation more, but thanks for making me sound like a dick.
Hey, MC, no matter what happens, we had General Washington.
We did have General Washington. That's very true. There's only one other person in history that was similar to him. What were you going to say, Wilshire?
I was going to say, wasn't Trudeau a senator before him? And so was Obama. Isn't that true?
He was a MP for a little bit. I think he served for maybe 3 years.
So he was in politics.
Yeah. Sorry, he was a member of parliament, pretty much part of Congress, essentially, the equivalent.
Okay, so, and now we've got a guy from a reality show, no political experience whatsoever, didn't go to any kind of school that pertains to said presidency, but he's our fucking president. I think JT kind of beats you out on that. That's just me.
But at least Trump is a businessman, which is better to be in office. Because Justin Trudeau, again, he was only because at least there's more, business has more to do with politics economically. Yeah, but Trudeau was only go ahead.
No, but why the fuck would you run a country like a business? That's
why wouldn't you?
Because I'm not a libertarian cuck.
No, you want to scream like a cuck. Cuck because I don't want fucking massive deficits. Cuck because I want
libertarian cuck.
I'm tired of the cuck comments or this bullshit fucking people just throw out there. You know what cuck means?
You're taking that too personal, dude.
He wants to go on his rant. Let him go on his rant.
It is okay.
Yeah, if he wants to yell, let him.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just tired of stupid.
I just noticed that Pirate Nation is now saying that Kansas is held to drive-through because it's so flat. Weren't we just talking about somebody that just got killed there? Maybe you guys need to think about what Pirate Nation has been up to.
That's interesting.
It's too bad he's not here.
So back to Canada. Yeah, Justin Trudeau did some stuff, but I'm actually curious what the general Canadian feeling is about Professor Peterson.
He's no idea.
That one's a lot more split. Because again, people who are more on the left, they'll lead the mainstream opinion, which isn't very favorable of Peterson. So I would say he's definitely found more of a support in the right on Canada than the left. But he himself, because of the way he speaks, he's actually woken up a lot of lefties in Canada. So I would say that all in all, it's somewhere down the middle. It's about split, depending on which side of the aisle you fall on. A lot of the lefties don't like him because he destroys their all their arguments and narratives.
Well, actually, I'm really curious, like because we know kind of like he can be a divisive figure. It's been brought up many times, but the folks on the left, do they really hate him? Like, is it like a true hatred? Yeah. Like, are Canadians able to do that? Like, I'm sorry, again, that's an ad hominem. No, but like,
hey, it's all good. I find it funny.
You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. It depends.
When you say divisive,
what?
I don't think he's divisive. In what way divisive? It was
people disagree with him, and there are protests against him.
I wouldn't say he's divisive.
It's really just divisive in the same way that speaking some facts are divisive. Like, he gets called divisive simply because he talks about biological differences between men and women. So it's not really that he's that divisive. He's also completely misrepresented, in my opinion. A lot of people who don't listen to him talks about, because they'll compare him to the alt-right, but his philosophies don't line up with what the alt-right wants. So he's completely misrepresented in that way. Plus, people talk about how he's spreading hate. His biggest message is personal responsibility. I don't know how this is supposed to be hatred.
So he kind of gets the Kathy Newman treatment?
Yeah, about that. Because then when it comes
But that's what I don't get, is how in any way it becomes divisive. I've never heard him say anything divisive.
Well, no,
Ever.
because you listen to the things he says. It's the folks that hear other folks say, "Oh, have you heard about this guy?" And then they inquire, and they
Right,
say,
exactly.
doing
So
this
it's not
stuff.
him.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Don't describe him as divisive. I mean, in the people who talk about him.
Well, it
divisive,
can
but he's not
still lead
divisive.
to a divisive situations.
Well, only because people are stupid.
Oh no, cabbage. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, actually, to be fair to that point, like I enjoy much of the stuff. Actually, probably almost everything that Professor Peterson puts out. I don't always agree with him on everything. It's just when I hear him more recently, he is kind of turning into a crusade, and he just when he says he sees like the current far left doing the things, and he doesn't differentiate them from like the Nazis of the past. Like when he kind of says stuff like that, I'm just like, I hear a man who's been hurt, so I can sense there's like some pain there, and like I get what he's saying. It's just some of his friends have even said it's like you don't need to be so, or you can be nicer about it. He doesn't have a duty to do that, but just I don't know, maybe be more inclusive. Ooh.
Ban women.
No, we love them too much.
They literally ruin everything.
People ruin everything. I think we broke the stream.
It's a lot of dead air happening right now.
I think the next story that I want to talk about is a story about Venezuela. And now there's areas that they're having a drought. So the drought is so severe that somehow now they have to go into rationing power. So they're going to be turning off power in several of the western states, six of their western states. And I don't know how Venezuela divides their nation up.
But
go ahead.
Don't they have oil?
Actually, the oil is not going anywhere because all the people that used to work for the oil company have quit, and all the stuff is breaking down. And for some reason, Venezuela can't hire the people to come in and fix it, because people are afraid that they'll just like take them and not pay them. Something about bouncing checks. But they're also starving, so I'm sure the drought is probably not having a.
They're not necessarily starving, MC. I mean, they're eating each other, so I mean, they have meat.
But in the report where they were talking about how they've announced that they're going to have these rolling blackouts, they went to the populace and they said, "So what do you think about this?" They said, 6 hours a day. Hell, last week the power's been out for over 14 hours almost every day. So,
well, they need to farm that Bitcoin.
I guess they're just acknowledging the situation in Venezuela. It looks like it's getting worse. So, and they're coming out of their. They're going into.
I was just going to say at this point. Oh, okay. Go ahead, MC. Sorry.
I said they're going into their winter, so fairly soon here. So hopefully their power usage will go down during that time frame. I mean, it does in the United States, but I don't know what the weather's like throughout the majority of Venezuela.
And at this point, aren't they just a failed state? I mean, what's it going to take for the people there to actually rise up? And I thought they tried to and got quelled. But
they did hijack a helicopter and lob a couple of grenades at the Supreme Court.
Well, that's a start.
Well, it's good.
Is the populace armed? No. Okay, so how are they going to?
Yeah, but at this point, you're starving to death, and now you're in a drought. I mean, really, do you care? What's stopping you from picking up a rock and just throwing it at the nearest fucking policeman and starting this shit off? I mean, It doesn't take long before society breaks down into anarchy.
It's hard to do that when you're hungry, man. When you're hungry, you don't have a lot of energy.
It's true. I mean, especially if you're too busy looking for food. If your primary concern is food, you don't really care what the government says they're actually doing as long as you can find food. That's a good point, Memes.
It sucks, man. Anyone that's ever been like really hungry and stuff, it's just that's your natural biological instinct. It's just like food, water, try to shelter yourself the best you can and everything. And I kind of now get why President Trump at one point he said, even we will look at military force. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I'm like, oh, things must be really, really bad. But I'm just like, dude, just fucking ask for help. Be like, yeah, we kind of fucked up.
Oh, we lost Wolfie, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, though, when it comes to food, you're hungry for a while, but then your body goes into starvation mode, and then the hunger pains kind of go away. And that's where you're really in trouble. But at that point, you could mount some sort of resistance to at least get some food. Because they have military and police that are being fed still. There is food there. I mean, I don't know. What's it going to take for a populace to finally say enough of this bullshit? We've had it. And when it came to America, it took some taxes, and it took about 1% of the populace. Why is Venezuela starving to death? Nobody is doing anything.
Canada is attacking our ears.
Adrian,
sorry,
what
did you
the
hear me?
fuck are you doing? Jesus.
No worries, man.
No, did you hear me?
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
we
no,
can
no.
hear you.
Yeah, it's just. Here's the thing, man. If a lot of those folks have kids and stuff like that, yeah, if it's just you, maybe you stand up. But if you're looking for food, you're probably just going to try to feed your child first, and you probably don't want your child getting shot.
If there's no food, then there's no food. And at that point, the survival of your children becomes the survival of your nation. I mean, they've been starving to death for a year now, a year and a half, right?
How are they gonna rise up? Seriously.
I don't know, man. Throw rocks and shit. Do something. I don't know.
Probably with weapons supplied by the School of the Americas.
Okay.
Well,
There'll
well,
be a
here's-
new Oliver North waiting to become, waiting for a new
populace
congressional
is
hearing.
basically unarmed. The countries around there are that surround it for the most part are not going to help and are left wing. They'd be more sympathetic toward Maduro than they are to the populace. All right. So what resource do these people have? Well, honestly, they can flee. A bunch of them have gone into Brazil that they could go into Brazil. They just fled into Brazil, and they become a problem in Brazil now. Right?
So how do we fix the problem?
Why? Wait a minute.
Well,
how do we fix it?
Yeah, my point would be we can't fix it.
But why not?
Send the Mexican
need to
drug
fix it.
cartels into Venezuela.
But no, they deal drugs, not
Wait.
oil.
Wait a minute. No, I like just my stupid opinion on this one. Why not? Let's make a trade deal with Mexico, and we start just moving troops in, and we just push those cartel members all the way south, and they'll run.
Hey, you
to
know what?
Venezuela.
That would actually work out for a few different reasons, actually. Because one reason would be it's the drug cartels that are moving the drugs. There was an article at Politico a few months ago called "How Obama Let Hezbollah Off the Hook," and it showed how Hezbollah was using the Mexican cartels to move drugs internationally into America. It seemed like one of their plan was trying to weaken the populace through drug use. So maybe you can help avoid that problem if you move the drug cartels down into Venezuela.
Well, and I bet Mexico would pay for the
CIA's
wall.
been used forever.
Yeah, but Mexico would pay for the wall if we got rid of their drug cartel problem. That's a big problem for the Mexican government. They want to control the drug flow, damn it.
Well, see, no, why I was MC. The reason why I was saying what we could do to fix the problem is, couldn't President Trump, let's say, mint several $1 trillion coins and we could buy Venezuela?
Why?
Annexation, baby. They have oil.
Wouldn't we be by far the
populist that the reason the reason Chavez was able to take over, all right, is because of how their society had been structured. They had basically a working aristocracy there, right? And if you were not part of the aristocracy, if you were part of the plebes, you were treated as less than a human being, right? And it's an unfortunate situation that exists,
like
for the most
in
part,
Brazil.
right? So almost throughout all of Latin America. So unless you're willing to take that on,
Yeah.
and with the commitment to change their culture, to stay there long enough to actually effectively change their culture, then what's the point? If you're not willing to stay there, when I say stay there and change their culture, I'm saying change it at the point of a gun. You will do this, you will do that. We'll go in there with a dictatorial mindset, just like we did after World War II.
Can we do it not with mushroom clouds?
You know, I'm not talking about with mushroom clouds, but it's still a dictatorial mindset. People don't realize after World War II, we did a number of things. For example, during the reconstruction of Japan, all right, the rail unions threatened to go on strike. All right, the military commander of the region, which was at the time MacArthur, said, "No, you won't," and they did. He got guns, and he said, "Get back to work," and he pushed them back into work at the point of a gun.
Well, that was during the war, right?
No, this is after the war. We did something very similar in Germany when they tried to do something similar. When you're talking about changing cultures after you take over an area, all right, you've got to dominate that culture until it's at the point where you're ready to release it back to them. Now, are you willing to put U.S. troops in there for 20 years? All right, at the point of the gun saying your culture is going to change? You just saw us attempt to do something similar in Iraq without being at the point of a gun, and look what it turned into.
Well, I walked away and came back, but all I heard is point of a gun in 20 years. But we're talking about annexation. We're not talking about rebuilding and leaving. We're saying, hey, we'll just buy you out. We're here. Welcome. You're the 51st state of America, the state of Venezuela.
If you annex them, you have got to be willing to change that population's mind at the point of a gun.
But like here, we want to give you like freedoms and guns and beer and cool stuff, and like here's like $5 trillion seed money. Food.
We come bearing chicken.
Yeah, we came bearing chicken in Somalia. Look how that turned out.
Did they not like chicken? Should we have brought
things in Nicaragua and El Salvador and Bolivia?
Bolivia is an entire different manner.
Well, no, see, I am totally opposed to.
Yes, but Nicaragua.
I'm totally opposed to
Nicaragua
or going to war and rebuilding their country. But if we're talking about annexation and taking the territory and actually profiting from it, then I might consider that.
But in order to do that, you've got to go in with the point of a gun and tell people how they're going to live their lives until you're ready for them to stand on their own.
Well, I mean, like if we bought off the military,
look, that's what we tried with Iraq, and they said they're all going to love us when we come in, so we paid off the military. The military didn't give it. They'll take your money. It doesn't mean they love you. Realize it's like a prostitute. When you pay a hooker, do you really think she loves you?
She could.
Right.
Do you think she's going to church?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Confession, man. Confession. It's a powerful thing.
Man.
Well, yeah, a lot of those Latin American countries are Catholic. So,
and look who you're confessing to. And look, And look who you're confessing to. A fucking guy who's probably fiddling children.
Well, these things happen. No, I'm just going with the basic premise that maybe North Korea we kind of help buy out if something like that were to be successful.
Wait, memes. Are you saying you use Venezuela as a practice round? You're like, okay, we're gonna buy Venezuela. If that works out, hey, Kim Jong Un, do you want to live rich for the rest of your life and just let us, feed your people?
Well, I stand by the solution to reunify the Korean Peninsula is give Kim Jong Un a Disney World. Well, then I may have considered starting a crowdfunding endeavor for like $1 trillion to just like give to the reunification of Korea. I think that's enough money to buy folks off.
Wow.
People who could be bought off are obviously corrupt, and they're the ones that you just handed a ton of money and power to. And you think somehow this is going to work out?
Will make Trump the executor of the fund. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Look, the reality is if you're going to take an area over and you're going to dominate it, you've got to sit up there and dominate it till it's ready to integrate. And I mean total domination. Not just go in there and say, look, we're in charge, and then sit back and go, don't loot now. I mean, you go in there, you tell people where they're going to work, where they're going to live, where they're going to go to school, how often they're going to go to school, which children are going to go to school, and how those children are going to go to school. You dominate that society completely, all right, until they're ready to stand on their own. It's what we did in Japan, and it's what we did in Germany after World War II. And they were successful after 20 years. It still took 20 years.
So we institute better communism in a communist nation?
It's not communism.
Well, I want annexation. I don't want to help these people out for free anymore. If we're going to be an empire, bloody act like one.
Oh, okay.
It's nice for you to sentence all of our freaking troops to go on do empire building for you.
No, I don't want the empire. I don't want the empire, but the neocons do. The Democrats do. The Republicans do.
Some very valid points.
Why not? If we are going to be an empire, if we are going to police the world and we're not going to stop, fine. Have it your fucking way. And I want you to actually have an empire, not a fake fucking economic empire that can crumble as soon as China releases all your debt.
And if you're going to play that game, since you want to play that game, then you're going to get all the rest of it that comes with the empire, which means when the empire is busy expanding and bombing frickin' everybody and anybody to take them over, you can't say, oh, that's a bad thing. You have to keep your mouth shut. Is that a good idea? Great trade-off?
No, I mean, if that's the way everybody wants it, which it seems to be, both parties, it seems a third voice cannot break through the static noise that is American politics. So if you guys want it, you want your cake, eat it.
I really think
the cake. Eat the cake and build the empire.
That's the pox on both houses. I'm not responsible for anything. It's somebody else's job. La 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 la. Let me stick my fingers in my ear.
Hey, I'm still mulling over running for office. I'm just throwing that out there, though. If you want the empire, fucking have it, but have it for real. Don't pussyfoot around it.
So
actually own the territory. Actually collect the taxes. Actually reap the rewards of empire building, and then let's talk about it.
So upon strategic review, I withdraw my call to purchase the nation of Venezuela.
Oh, so no empire? We're railing that back. Okay, Cam.
No, MC. Well, that's why you got guys like MC around, because you pitch an idea out there, you entertain it, you push a little bit, you realize you disagree, and then you realize he has a point.
Well, the empire building is very pricey to America. Otherwise, if we're not talking about American soldiers' lives. Look how much money was spent during every year, or hell, every day during the Iraq War. So this empire building is going to cost America a lot. and with the debt that it's got, could he even sustain an actual worldwide empire?
Well, with blood and treasure,
Well-
unless you're literally going to go like any means necessary, yeah, I'd probably not want to
Well,
see
if I'm
our
wait,
troops and other
if
folks.
I'm gonna go full devil's advocate and argue for empire, I would tell you right now, those prices were so significant because we just bombed and rebuilt. We didn't ever plan on actually taking the territory. We released it back to the local people. So I would say you annex and you create new estates and you spread the empire that way. You don't have colonies. You have new states. You have representation. You have literally a new world order.
I'm uncomfortable with the direction this conversation's going because I know I will eventually throw out something very terrible that.
I even threw the NWO in there. I'm going full devil's advocate.
No, it's. I'll put it this way. Back when I was in high school, we were going through nuclear chemistry. And for some reason, it's just like, I like science. Once we got to biology, osmosis was a little dry, so I kind of stopped paying attention a little bit. And then we got to nuclear chemistry, and for some reason, it started to make a lot of sense to me. So we did an uplink with a local college. And at one point, he's talking about like the splitting of the atom and stuff. I'm like, oh, what would happen if you had like enough energy and stuff like that, where you could literally separate like the protons or like the neutrons and stuff into like their quark components and stuff. And then the professor on the uplink, he pauses for a moment, and then he responds with, well, in theory, you would create a neutron bomb, basically something with a very small explosive yield, but essentially obliterates all life in the area. It was at that moment, realizing that I have Jewish heritage and like nuclear chemistry, that I should never become a physicist.
Well, I mean, if like an empire is an empire, so the Romans didn't conquer Germania and then not annex it, did they? I mean, they took the shit. Same with half of Britain, all the way up to Hadrian's Wall up in Scotland. I mean, if you're gonna build an empire, well, by God, you annex the territory. But that's not what America has done. America has decided we're going to be an economic empire. That way we look like the good guy. Well, we don't look like the good guy, okay? The whole world, it looks at us like we're evil when we are supporting 3/4 of the world. It's ridiculous to me.
So they
it's
view
a waste of
America as
damn money.
Donald Trump.
What was that, Beams?
Oh, I said, so what you're saying is the rest of the world views, as many here view, Donald Trump.
Well, and just my stupid opinion, you sound like you had a little bit to say there. Go ahead, sir.
Oh crap, what was I going to say? I had it and then I just lost it. All I was going to say is that, yeah, well, America, a lot of these other countries, mine included, does rely on American protection. I mean, if we look at NATO, I don't believe any of the other countries are really matching what they're supposed to. I think it was 2% of their GDP or 1% of their GDP into defense. And that's not even being met. But then at the same time, people are turning around and asking America for support. I mean, honestly, like the British government has kind of spat on America's face recently, especially since Donald Trump got elected. But yet it seems anytime they get into any hardship, they want to turn around and be like, America, give me a hand here, buddy. It's not fair on you guys.
No,
it's not
Adrian,
fair on America.
That's false. No, that's Adrian. Yep. Adrian. No, we're one of only 2 countries in Europe that do make that obligation payment. We've always done it.
Say that
France,
again.
Germany, Italy. You can claim it.
Oh, he dropped out. Okay, well, I'm sure
his big thing is they're not Europeans, and he just claimed Europe. I was gonna needle him. Oh.
All right, but I think we didn't get to hear everything. But I guess he was going on to say that I wasn't accurate when I said that about England. So maybe not. Maybe England was not the best example for that. But there are still plenty of other countries around the world where that would be a perfectly acceptable.
Oh no, example. When it comes to NATO, Britain is, I think, the only other one that ever has met their obligations consistently. All right?
Okay, so yeah, then I was wrong on that. All right, so, sorry about that, Cabbage.
But Germany hasn't. Germany has almost never. Right now, everyone talks about Germany's military and how powerful it is. I hate to tell people this, but the German military, in the stance that it is right now, in its capability, is shit. And the Germans know it.
I can verify that, MC. It's funny you mentioned that, literally, because right before I hopped on the stream, I was discussing Germany with a gentleman from Germany, and he literally said, he's like, no, this is what he told me. He's like, could you guys please come over and invade us again so we can have something like your constitution? This guy's literally like telling me this, and I've discussed a little bit of the EU with him before, and just hearing him say that, he pretty much said what you said. He's like, yeah, we wouldn't be able to stand up. He's like, we don't have nukes. That, and I'm like, well, no, you guys make good stuff. He's like, yeah, but our armor and everything is old and crap now.
They have the Leopard 2, the Leopard 2 Mark, whatever it is actually a very effective, first world tank. Maintenance on it is horrible. Keeping it running is terrible. It's terribly difficult. And as a result, because you didn't have to worry about it because we had literally thousands of M1s around, is they never really maintained any of their equipment. Same thing with their Air Force. Oh, that Eurofighter works really well. If you have enough of them that can fly, yeah. We're right now, the United States is suffering in the Navy. People don't realize this. Right now, close to 40% of naval aircraft right now is down for maintenance. They're struggling to keep the F-18s in the air right now.
There was just a crash the other day, right?
Yep.
An F-18 crashed. Yeah. And they're piecing them together with parts right there on the airfield, man. I went to flight school for a while, and that's not the way you want to run shit.
Well, MC, maybe you can attest to this. Maybe you're not allowed to, but just we have noticed that there seem to have been at least there have been several ship collisions. There's been like a number of military aircraft. I'm not sure if it's a larger increase, or at least maybe I've seen it more, that have gone down. So I mean, is it like a maintenance issue? Is that why we're seeing just like constant maintenance? Is it like the age of the fleet, or any insight?
I think
it's several things, some of which a lot of it's maintenance. Not all of it. There are certain other things that are possible.
Well, $100 million aircraft, I would assume, is going to be very position based.
What was that?
Well, and my
no, I was going to say, colliding has got nothing to do with parts. There's got to be incompetence in there somewhere.
Oh wait. Oh well. No, I'm going with it's a precision aircraft. So like that's why you always need to make sure everything's like perfect, because if it's not, then you could have a horrible accident.
Well, and my argument would be short, and I'll let you guys go. Really, these things cost what, 100 million, 70 million per aircraft. Our fleet is 20 to 30 years old. Any of these planes, even the F-16 is fucking expensive as hell. So really, you don't want to upgrade them or really buy new aircraft because the price tag is so huge. And to be honest, some of these planes are quite obsolete that we still have in our arsenal.
When you take a look at certain things, all right, specifically the F-16, right, there's a reason why the F-16 is still out there, all right? The F-16 is not nearly as expensive as you think it is. I think you can buy them for like $6 to $7 million each plane. All right. It's got a single engine. All right. It's very easy to work on. You can replace the engine in a matter of hours very quickly. All right. In comparison to some of these newer airframes. Okay. However, you have no capability of stealth. Absolutely none. All right. It is a great interceptor / fighter. It is not very well designed for any kind of ground attack role. All right. They just don't do that role well. They're there for advanced air superiority, but if you were going to look at an airframe that was superior to it, that was in the U.S. fleet for a long time, right, is you had the F-15s. The F-15 beat F-16s hands down. All right, it had more maneuverability, it had more speed, its electronics package was far superior. Right, it was meant for air superiority. In fact, it was a pure air superiority interceptor fighter. Right, nothing could touch it if it had the right stuff. The problem with it is that it was very complicated, and when it came to maintenance, it became a maintenance nightmare. One of the main reasons why Iran didn't just walk and mop the floor with Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War is they literally had hundreds of F-15s. None of them were flying because it's so difficult to maintain them, and we refused to send them parts. All right, after they kicked after the the Iran hostage crisis, we weren't going to give them any parts. All right, so this was part of the reason all this went down. This is how some of this stuff happens. Now you're talking about the F-35, which the F-35 is an advanced fighter. It has some stealth capability. It's not great stealth, but it has some stealth capability. It has some vectoring thrust, but not as great vectoring thrust as like the F-22s. All right, the F-22, for all intents and purposes, is a superior airframe. It's also far more complicated, which is why
the F-35 is a dog. You know it. I mean, it's absolutely fucking pointless. I mean,
we tried to do many things.
Yeah, and even now it's still asphyxiating the pilots because of the that stupid vertical fan that they put in right behind the pilot.
That's your fault. I mean, that is not our requirement. We don't have that issue.
No, it was a Marine requirement. It was because the Marines required to, it's a vertical requirement, right? There's one design. It's one design technique for using, to have a VTOL.
Right, but
that's the fact.
That's on the VTOL version, yeah. But most of our airframes are not VTOLs.
Well,
how's that our fault? What the fuck are you blaming us for?
The EU ruined it.
You know what I think the problem is?
Fuck all to do with the EU.
With the United States.
America wanted it.
I think the problem with the United States air arsenal today really is they don't believe the next war will involve dogfighting. I disagree.
No, the thing is,
I disagree.
MC,
I think you need a dogfighter, and they're going for long range, air-to-air missiles and just bombardment on the ground.
Well, that's the same. That's the same mistake they made. Remember with Vietnam, right? Because with the Phantoms, right? The Phantom mistake. Right?
Well, no, you need a dogfighter, and they don't necessarily have one other than maybe the F-16 or the F-22. But I don't know.
F-22's, a superb piece of equipment, but the F-35 is an absolute dog. It's a dog with fleas, and it has been since the initial design. That Boeing one, that was a way better design because it was an ugly piece of shit. It was ugly, but it was functional, and it used an existing technique that was known to be working. It was a supersonic Harrier. The Boeing design was
stealth, and that was a problem.
Oh no, it did have where they put it through it had the same signature. Yeah. I can show you a documentary where they went behind.
I'm telling you, Cabbage, it was not nearly as stealthy. It wasn't.
Well, but
at least it doesn't. But at least it doesn't asphyxiate the fucking pilot.
I can't.
I mean, that's got to be a consideration.
No, Cabbage. You do realize in the F-35s, you're not actually supposed to brew your tea in the cockpit.
Well, you see, that's the whole point. Standards are dropping. Standards are dropping.
We did not account for the UK tea time. Our apologies.
Wow.
No, we put the wrong plug-in in there. We put an American plug-in, and they fucking had to fiddle with it.
Oh,
yeah. No, but MC, do you believe the next war will involve dogfighting? Because I do. And I don't think the United States has a good dogfighting platform, really, other than the F-22.
The F-22. And the F-22 can fight, so can the F-15. If we still have a lot of F-15s if we want to pull them out of mothballs. Right, in a war situation, we would. All right, we would suffer from training requirements, especially from the pilots and some of the air crews, but really the air crew training is not nearly as complex as the pilot training would be. But even then, it wouldn't be that difficult.
MC, how many planes are there mothballed at the, what do they call it, the boneyard? You know, out in Albuquerque or wherever it is.
It's in Tucson.
Is it in Tucson? All right. Yep. Well, it's in Arizona. Whatever. Yes. Close enough. But I mean,
in fact,
you know, you've got all of those
every day.
I mean, and how many thousands of acres is that of just aircraft? You know, just laid out.
It's massive,
waiting to be reutilized.
It is massive.
Can I buy one? Can I buy one?
That's
please?
Classified.
I just want one F-15. Just one.
You can't buy.
But no weapons.
You could file a lawsuit.
No, you could purchase them, but no weapons. And you can't. And you're not allowed to put weapons on them.
Wait.
I don't need no missiles. I'm good. I'm a peaceful libertarian.
No avionics.
I just want to fly around in an F-15.
No.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
and
you can't have
call myself Maverick. And, you know,
but no avionics either.
You don't have the high. They'll be commercial
more like
electronics.
Goose.
They won't be military electronics. That's true. The avionics would be.
I don't get the fancy shit.
Yeah, you can't.
You will
at least have
the military.
No, you will not get a HUD.
Can I get the cool helmet and the face mask thingy at least? I mean,
those all you.
I got at least look the part.
No. Not the one that plugs in and shows you the heads-up display, though.
Well, MD, what you're gonna have to do is you can pay an electrician to wire up your iPad. You can have a heads-up display via that.
Oh shit! Could you imagine?
It'll just
going fucking
you can turn
100
your
miles per hour. Oh, that sounds like fun.
MC.
What?
Maddox, you can turn your F-16 into something. You know, just put an iPad in it. That'll be about as good as it's going to get.
Or you just get a VR headset and not have to spend like $6 million.
Yeah, $6 billion more like.
Yeah, take one from Breaking Bad. Science, bitch.
Yeah, bitches. No, but anyway, actually, I'm curious. Like, are we even going to have like any like actual like pilot in cockpit stuff? Like, are we even going to have this stuff, or are we going to go down like the drone route instead? Is that more efficient?
All the Air Force is to get rid of manned pilots and do everything from drones.
Is it cheaper?
That is what they're trying to work toward. No, it's not cheaper, and it's actually you lose a lot of flexibility when you do that.
It's not cheaper in the long run. I figured like drones would be more of an investment. Like it might be more expensive now, but it would be less expensive in the long run.
Are we talking like payload based? Like, no, I'm curious about that.
No, the ability to put the kind of systems in there that they're talking about, those systems are very expensive. All right, and
wait, this is important. Do I get the ejector seat?
That I don't know.
Ooh.
You might get an ejector seat.
I need to know that. I need the ejector.
By the way, an F-15 is not an F-14.
I know that.
Like you saw.
You just ruined everything, MC. His hopes and dreams.
Well, it's an upgrade, right? It's like getting the S5 over the S4 or whatever.
You don't have the swept wings. You don't have all the other frickin' problems that an F-14 has.
So you're saying he can get an F-14 for cheaper?
This is going to be a big pay. Like I'm going to have a lottery on this.
That's done by the Navy, so I don't know what the Navy would be willing to sell you. To be honest, you really don't want sweep wing aircraft. While they have a lot of certain advantages when it comes to putting them on carriers and stuff, it doesn't make sense if you're going to do it to a landing platform. So unless you plan to do landing somewhere on an aircraft carrier, you don't want a swept wing. You don't need it.
So I want to. Okay, I just want to throw this out there. Let me see. Let's say I win the lottery. I buy this fucking aircraft, right? I get my pilot's license. Are you then going to say, how am I going to take over government? I have an F-16, bitch. Come on now.
So
Really?
given what
Yeah,
MC
one-
said, if
One
you're gonna land that-
F-16 versus the whole of Andrews Air Force Base.
Well, that's
One F-16 versus
that's
Andrews
gotta
Air
be-
Force Base.
It would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
That's
amusing
gotta be-
to watch him actually attempt to the F-16 flying that
It
fast,
wouldn't.
ignoring the radio warnings as he came close. What would happen if he got close to DC?
Well, he's flying into the danger zone.
Yeah, danger zone's the word. And without the electronics package to know that beep beep beep, they've got a lock
There you
on
go.
me,
That's
you might
why-
have a surprise coming.
Well,
That's why I'm saying.
just throw Cabbage's tea out there. They'll track that instead.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's what I was
that's right.
thinking. It'll be nice and hot. I'll just throw that out. It'll be like, it'll be fine.
Yes. As you're sitting there flying at freaking like Mach 2 with like no
Fuck chaff.
surrounding you because you ejected the freaking like glass around you.
Who needs chaff?
Yeah, which leads to the next question. While many of these planes have in-air refueling, I don't think that the U.S. Air Force is going to let you just pull out up to one of their tankers for some gas.
No, just stop in Virginia at a Walmart.
Yeah, well,
they sell racing fuel.
You
That's
do
my
realize I'm gonna paint a gigantic Confederate flag on the side of this plane, right? Like, it'll be huge. It'll be fucking the Confederate Air Force. That's right.
I can see the headlines now. Local white
You know,
supremacist
the only-
tries to take
the
over
only
government.
No one would ever write a story like that.
Of course not.
Yeah. Runs
They'll
out
be
of gas.
They'll be showing pictures of it.
Yeah,
They'll
that's right.
be showing pictures of the wing with the pieces of the rebel flag that are left on it after it disintegrates in the air.
So,
Well,
so
I
as-
guess the sun won't rise
you'd have
again.
to think- no,
Coming
no.
down
I
as
mean,
you eject it.
surely, yeah. Yeah, but surely the plane would be painted in the rebel flag.
well, Mad Dog,
Yeah.
as your campaign manager, I'm going to have to say it was a pleasure entertaining this idea that we would never actually consider doing.
Oh, dude, do you think I have the money for an F fucking 16?
Well, no, you said if you won the lottery.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna win the lottery. Who wins the lottery?
Well, the cleaning lady at my old college, she hit like the $197 million right before.
You
lumped in
didn't
the
mug her?
Meganoids. What?
You mugged her. You mugged her. You
No,
stole the
dude.
lottery ticket.
No, she worked by the bagel stand. She was a sweet gal. I never really talked to her or anything. But dude, the crazy part about that was she won the lottery. She went to work the next week to put in her 2-week notice. And then people harassed her and she stopped after a week. And I noticed we have a very proper wolf here who came in right around the time as Mad Dodge was entertaining the idea of charging DC in his F-15.
Oh, no, I don't give a fuck what Mad Dodge does. I just know he's not going to get elected for whatever.
Well, yeah. Hey, you don't need roads with an F-16. That's all I'm saying.
You also
Well,
don't need a house
That's
think
true. Technically, though, that's true.
or a
No,
decent mortgage or credit score or anything else.
Hey, let's not talk about credit scores. Did you come here to talk about credit scores? Get the fuck out of here. Like,
No, I did. I came in here because like I'm on the downslope of the evening, man. I made a whole pot of mac and cheese, and I'm just sitting here eating it.
Ooh, what type of cheese?
Oh, I don't even fucking know, dude.
Is it the standard, or I know they got some flavored ones?
It's just standard mac and cheese.
Sardonic 7 said, "I'd reckon that if I ever was caught cheating by MC playing, say, Monopoly, he'd stab me to death in front of my niece."
To be fair to that, our current president is on the Monopoly box.
Oh, that's
well,
true.
no, and I would like to bring up, though, yeah, Donald Trump was a reality star, but he was a lot more than that before being a reality TV star. I mean,
he's a meme.
but he's not self-made. He did get a small loan of $1 million to start out. I mean, so he's not necessarily self-made.
Well,
But
he also employed a lot of-
Actually, he said he only had $1 million in his pocket when he started out. You got to be accurate. He only had $1 million there, Mad Dodge.
Well,
it's
to be
not
fair,
that
to be
much.
fair, did he do better with that money than the song?
Than the song?
I had $1 million.
Oh, if I had $1 million?
Yeah. Because they were going to buy monkeys and stuff. They were buying a lot of cool stuff. So was it better than Trump did?
I'd like to have a lot of cool stuff. So
Me
I'll say
too.
yes.
What's this gay shit?
Yeah, and then they lost it all. MC Hammer made what, $100 million 1 year? In a single year, $100 million, and then he ended up filing for bankruptcy.
Well, you know, them gold teeth and those big ass chains cost a lot, MC. Don't hate.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
Who
but
needs
then
teeth?
MC, every year, doesn't California declare itself bankrupt every year? The sixth largest
it's the only state
economy
that,
on the planet.
yeah, it's the only state that really can't pay its bills consistently.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to have what?
You know,
I was going to say what? California has like supposedly is it the 5th largest economy in the world? Like just as the state alone?
They claim
Oh,
it's
in the world?
6th.
Yeah, it's like the 6th or 5th, yeah.
Yeah, and they can't even pay their fucking debts. Jesus.
Well,
Yeah, but
it's getting so bad that they're hiring fucking illegals into their governmental offices. You guys hear about that fucking dude?
Yeah.
Oh god. Fucking Jesus. If
That's
ever a time to just cut it off and push it into the ocean, now would be a good time.
See what? Okay, so rather than purchasing the nation of Venezuela, how about this instead? Trump mints a couple $1 trillion coins and buys California and renames it great again.
Memes. Do you really have to keep up with the fake currency? Can we just go back to the gold standard or the Bitcoin standard at this point, for all I give a fuck?
To be fair, I'm going to hammer home that goddamn $1 trillion coin thing until that is either fixed in the goddamn legislation or somebody actually prints one.
What's about $1 trillion coin?
Mince one. Well, see, here's how it works. The Federal Reserve controls the presses. They actually print the actual currency we have. However, the president and the executive branch do control the mint. And basically, Congress controls all the standard currency, with the one exception of the platinum currency, which the president can control via basically ordering his cabinet members to order the minting of platinum currency. And platinum is the one currency where there's no limit on the denomination. It's kind of a loophole. It was kind of meant to like print commemorative coins and stuff for folks, but you could literally write anything on it and then it would hold that denomination. So I remember CNN did a piece like 4 years ago or so, basically on it, and then I had a stream with I think Welshmere and Captain Coldpile a while ago.
Holy crap.
And what would that cause?
That would basically, well, you could technically take all the power away from the Federal Reserve, and you potentially could, depending on the denomination, pull into play the sheer fact that our basically countries, companies, and everything is woven so far together based upon so much debt that we could break the world currency.
We'd have to hand over that coin, though, wouldn't we?
Or we deposit it in the Fed, thereby going to the good faith and credit of the United States government. It's basically there's a form. If you YouTube
if you did something
trillion
like that, the fact is, if you deposit at the Fed, just created massive inflation.
Well, that's why you got to do it quick.
so basically,
dude, you got to go Machiavelli on that shit. Dude, you got to go Donald Trump, like just tear you out, like basically force you into a position where you just have to say yes. He did that on so many deals. And MC, I know you know that maybe it's not exactly true, but you know what I'm saying, man. It's a vicious sales / Machiavellian tactic, and it does work.
Playing hardball, he does. It is a hardball tactic, but I'm not sure that would work out too well for the rest of the country.
Well, no, I was just doing it as a meme, so he could purchase California, solve their debt problem, and then just label it great again.
No. Why would you want to purchase California though?
The same reason Andy Worski purchased liberalists. To spike someone.
Purchasing liberalists has a point. Purchasing California doesn't.
Well, I like California.
Well, California
but
sucks.
the thing is, that technique's already been tried with going off the gold standard with Nixon, and it was done with Bretton Woods Agreement.
It's already been done. Idea.
Well, it wouldn't be the first
monetary system. Like that's why I was entertaining it as like kind of like a joke to kind of poke fun at California.
If we're going to do anything with California, as far as I'm concerned, we should sell it back to Mexico. Sell it back to Mexico, put the freaking border right through there.
Why? Then the fucking illegals can just come right up in there.
No, why?
They don't even have to cross the border. They can just walk there.
MC, I know you're joking. We can't give up that much Pacific coastline. It just strategically, it's not a good idea.
Well, not only that, but why give it back to Mexico?
Why is it strategically bad for the United States to give up that coastline?
Because that coastline is a good majority. California is a good majority of that coastline, which means that anyone, if we give it to Mexico, who decides to side with Mexico and not with us, has a beachhead immediately into America.
Okay.
Give some doesn't matter. If they take it and they have it now. They
still have to get to, in massive ways, all right, to try and get to California. And to be honest, if they launched an attack from California into the United States, I have no problem, all right, obliterating every one of those major cities.
Actually, to be fair, now give us a buffer zone.
Okay, Himmler, calm down for a minute.
Wait, what?
Seriously? Why not just let them secede from the Union? Why do we have to give them back to Mexico? Let them be independent. Secession, people.
Why do we have to give them back to Mexico? Why not?
Because if we let them become independent, then they're going to fail because they're already failing. They're barely staying alive as it is. And once they fail, they're all going to flee into one of the other states, and they're going to turn that into the next California. And it's just going to go till they run out of states.
That's why you build the wall. Don't let them go through.
Even Jefferson Davis said in his farewell address, we leave the Union and we take the hazard. We cut all ties, and they have been great and endearing. And we forfeit all benefits, and they have been many. And we take the hazard. That's what California would have to do.
You're failing to realize that Californians are fucking pussies about this. They will not care. They will say, I don't like it here, I'm moving back. And then they're going to move back. And then they're going to fuck up another state.
There's already too many of them in my state right now.
In my state, like literally, people have been spray painting on "Welcome to Oregon" signs. Go home, Californians. Like that's a real thing. Like they really don't like California.
What we need to do is we need to complete the Green Road. So basically, West Coast and East Coast, pretty much you're seeing either full medical or full legalization of marijuana. Once you have a connecting series of states west to east, then literally you'll be able to drive worry-free across all those states. And at that point, it's just, you got to decriminalize it nationally.
What the hell did that come from?
We were talking about California.
I'm just saying.
How does that go
I am
to
finally,
drug legalization to across the nation?
Oh, well, I'm just saying.
I don't want to use California as a buffer zone. I was entertaining the idea, and I'm like, wait, no, we would hurt a lot of folks that used to be part of the United States.
Well, and I'm finally not the one who brought up legal marijuana. Thank you, memes.
For once.
And how?
Yeah, for once, I wasn't the one to bring it up. But now that he did, no, I'm kidding.
It's a happier conversation than the ones we were having earlier.
Well, no. What about the Republic of California? Bring that back, man.
Oh, you can have New California. That's fine. Go do your thing.
Yeah, and while we're at it, Cascadia. That sounds pretty cool to me. I'd be right there in that.
If the people vote for it and
We
you can
recently
do it
just
somehow.
talking about the alt-right radicals and that kind of stuff. Is this what you're now proposing, Mad Dog?
No, actually, the alt-right fucking crazies are trying to take Cascadia. It was actually a hippie movement to begin with. Where,
So they're open.
So the alt-right's trying to co-opt the Cascadia movement, but the Cascadia flag has been around for 25 years, and there's been people trying to get a secession movement in this area of Oregon, California, and Washington, which is right down the middle of all three states, which is really entertaining because they're not going to put up with that. That's not going to happen. I mean, come on.
So, it hypothetically, what would Cascadia even produce? What would be, something it would do for
Timber.
the state?
Timber. Lots and lots of timber, sir. Yeah. We would take the national forest back and
cut it down.
Yeah, that's right. Cut it all down, brother. I'm okay with that. No, you cut some down and then you start growing hemp and then you start selling hemp. So you don't have to cut it all down. But you know why we have these massive forest fires? Because nobody clears out the underbrush. And nobody is
the underbrush is one thing.
Land.
Fucking leveling the local environment and destroying homes for animals is something completely else.
Oh, the poor animals. For every tree they cut down, they have to plant.
Poor animals. What are you talking about? If you remove the home for the animals, they're going to move into your backyard.
You're not allowed to clear cut an entire stretch of
MC. Have you been paying attention to what's been going on? It's that area. There's a shit ton of intelligent primates there, and I hear they have guns now.
Oh, do they now? Okay.
Oh, Bigfoot got armed. Oh shit.
Well, I heard they had ogre. They had a few ogre spottings out there.
Oh, there's.
Oh God.
Well, there was a random chicken running around in my backyard. I'm just saying.
I could have sworn I saw a picture somewhere. It does exist.
No, I would not massively cut down all the forest, all right? But if you start clearing out some of this forest and using the timber, you would stop a lot of these wildfires, and that's a fact. We learned that in school, in fucking middle school. I mean...
Well, clearing out the underbrush and the dead trees is one thing. Don't cut down live trees.
Well, he would need an economy. So I think what he would need to do is, if you're going to do it, you actually have to have it planned out over a multi-year period where you don't completely destroy everything. You have to do it as responsible as you could because you're going to want to have good PR, and then you can promote you're helping the folks out with our local industry, and then I don't know, do one of those things where you bury folks there and a tree sprouts.
Or screw it, let's just have those treehouse cities from fucking Star Wars or whatever.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Let's just do that all over Cascadia. Treehouse cities.
Yeah, okay, so how long does it take to grow a tree that big?
They're there.
Well, we already have a lot up here.
Right, but if you're cutting them down.
Because nobody... No, but you don't want them cut down, so I'm bringing up a different proposition.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, if you want to cut them down, why would you build? Why would you build tree houses in them?
You convinced him to save the trees.
Yeah, I'm switching here. I agree. Okay,
well, you're a switch, all right.
Well, it's a cooler idea.
Switch. All right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think living like a Wookiee is for me.
I like Wookiees.
I don't.
Have you seen some of these houses, actually?
Do you have a bad experience with a Wookiee?
No. I just, I believe in what the Empire stands for. Death to Wookiee kind.
Oh.
The nasty Wookiee touch.
Oh, just don't collude with voice.
Oh, probably not, no.
The Empire will rise again. No, but if you don't, okay, I'm not saying clear cut the damn forest. I'm saying thin it out and actually make it manageable and make a industry on it. You know, because they already do that. It's just the federal government gets a slice and then the state gets a slice. I mean, they're already cutting down old growth trees in the forest surrounding me.
Well,
So they're already doing it. So, I mean, why not secede, make Cascadia, and make that the base of your industry? How am I wanting to totally destroy the environment?
Or I guess it was just the way you worded it. The way you worded it made it sound like you were trying to just, oh, you just cut down all the fucking trees.
boy, he said it Trump-like.
Yeah.
We'll go there. We'll level the forests. Well, it's basically just kind of like the way it came up. No, but I was going to say is here's what you do. Speaking of slices, how about instead of that, since you got some really big trees, you do a hybrid where you kind of do a little bit of a treehouse thing, but you turn it into more of a botanical garden. How many pot plants could you grow on top of one of those trees? You'd have pretty good lighting. We don't have any botanists on.
Well, yeah, no, and why can't Canada do something like that? You guys have abundance of trees up there, right?
Oh yeah, especially I would say probably the biggest problem more is transportation. Sorry, 1 second. Excuse me. Yeah, probably the biggest problem is transportation because if we were to do that, probably we'd want to go a little more north, just so we're not destroying our own our own local supplies too fast. So that would probably be our biggest problem. But yeah, honestly, Canada should, one thing we should focus on would be our timber because of man. Even in the cities, there's still a shit ton of trees actually. Or just burn it all down, whichever one.
Well, no, and like Canada, that's you guys have what? Oil, fur, which nobody really wants to trade in anymore, thanks to PETA. And
Water.
You have timber. Oh, water.
Water is
And
one of our big
steam.
ones. Actually, these days, water is one of my big focus on and what I want to protect as our natural resources because we're already starting to have lots of water shortages around. I'm sure by now you guys have heard that South Africa is probably going to lose their water very soon. So that's just going to keep ramping up in the future, and water is going to become pretty much as precious as gold or oil is these days. So that's actually one resource.
Part of it too is when you have people, whether it's in South Africa or California, when you have people that are living in places where people are not supposed to be living, you kind of have no option but to import water, which I think is the dumbest thing. You used up all the water in California. Why are you still shipping it in? Just move. Don't live there anymore.
But the beach.
Fuck the beach.
I like
but
the beach.
weed.
Well, no, and like even the Romans did that. They had aqueducts for a reason. They're man's ability.
Yeah, they
to
weren't
claim-
shipping them from different states, though. That's the thing.
They were shipping them over hundreds of miles. The water itself.
Well,
Yeah.
come on, and Mad Dodge. It's not like they built something that could last like 1,000 years.
Yeah, not at all, right? But no, it's been man's accomplishment to conquer nature. But now because of global warming or climate change or whatever Al Gore is making money off of this week, we seem to be pussies about it. We seem to want to just leave it all alone. You know how much energy we can create with more dams in the United States, but by God, we can't change the river flow. We can't make a couple fish ladders so the fish can keep going. No, that's horrible.
Modern fish like I've actually seen that. Like the fish ladders, like they do actually work. I mean, I'm sure we've engineered better things now because I mean the effectiveness, it was pretty high, but I would like to see it higher. But it's just hydroelectric. You're thinking, I'm like, so why don't they just build like a whole shit ton of? Well, actually, no. I'm realizing now power distribution, but it's just we need better fucking infrastructure. Here's the thing: if you want to do fucking an upgrade to the United States, our grid is going on like 60 years in many places. we couldn't upgrade this, and the sheer fact if like the Russians were in our grid and stuff like that, we couldn't have like some sections where we actually have actual people there that can actually do like hard connections rather than, oh, hey, they tapped into our Wi-Fi from the coffee shop across the street and they almost shut down our power plants.
Yeah, like our story earlier today. Exactly. But no, up in Canada, man, like I'm trying to get you to talk a little bit more. You're not on the show much. Do you support more drilling for oil? Where do you stand when it comes to the environment? Do you believe Al Gore? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm literally asking.
No problem. And yeah, I would say when it comes to starting off, when it comes to climate change, I believe the climate's changing. I don't know if how much it has to do with man-made these days, because there's been a lot of one thing that really changed my mind is there's a court case that's going on in Vancouver right now, which is probably you guys have heard about the hockey stick graph. Yes? No?
Oh yeah, I've seen it, but you can explain it real quick if you need to.
Well, essentially, the hockey stick graph was a graph that was marking the climate over the course of a few hundred years, and what it showed was in the last in the last 200 years or so is that the heat spiked. But it turns out that there's a lawsuit that's going on from one climatologist who is suing the creator of that chart for because he's saying that he brought up fraudulent numbers. So that he says that hockey stick graph that's supposed to it's one of the big claims for climate change these days, because they said that it shows that there's a large warming during our period, but this has never happened before. He manipulated to make the warming period during the medieval ages. He manipulated to make it look like it wasn't as bad. So then if you take that in consideration, the real data, it looks like it's more of a natural cycle change. So I'm not sure to what degree the climate is changing, but I've even seen that in my own time. I've seen as like the weather has gotten a little warmer during the winters or the seasons start a little later. I do care about the environment, but I don't want to risk production and progress just for the environment. Our oil right now is worth something because of all our regulations. It's worth about 50% of what it could be. Now, Alberta, the country that our province that has all the oil, they're already a rich province as it is. But if they were allowed to produce the oil sands at full capacity at 100%, they could be bringing in like at least double the revenue they are now. So I am in favor of drilling for oil. I am in favor of upping the amount of drilling, because that could actually bring jobs to some of our poorer parts of our country. Right now, over on the East Coast, the Maritimes, there's very few jobs out there, and the jobs that are out there are absolute bullshit. Like, they're very low-paying jobs. So if we could get a pipeline, what they wanted to do, which ended up getting scrapped, is they wanted to put a pipeline that would have brought the oil from Alberta into the Maritimes, and they could refine it there, which would have brought jobs. That was shut down by one of our provinces, because we don't have quite the same states' rights as America does. But our one province.
Where did it run through? I'm sorry to cut you off, but where did it run through on the state side? You remember?
What, the oil pipeline?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't running on the Canadian side. I was saying that it was shut down by one of our provinces, Quebec. And what I was bringing up, is Canada doesn't have the same states' rights as like our provinces don't have exactly the same state rights, but Quebec is kind of unique because it's where our French culture is. Mm-hmm. So they have a lot more say. So when they decided that they didn't want the pipeline running through, that shut everything down immediately. So I think we could actually reduce a lot of our poverty if our oil sands were allowed to produce at 100%, simply because it would be offering jobs all across the country. So I am pro environment, but I do want to see production. I do believe that production has to go ahead of environment.
Well, and my question is follow up here. Alaska is a small proportion compared to Canada, and we opened up ANWR, and now we're going to be oil independent in 3 years? Okay, so you guys have to have a lot of oil up there. Why are you not utilizing it? Because to be honest, Canada doesn't have a lot of food production. You have to import a lot. which means you need exports to balance that budget, right? So what's going on? Is it just the province elections, and politics, or what?
Environmental activism really is the big one these days. They're very anti-pipeline, which is shutting down a lot of the production in Alberta. Unfortunately, too, when we're talking about representation, a lot of the representation that is available in Canada comes from my province, Ontario. So Alberta doesn't have the same pull, despite the fact they produce all of our goods, like the main majority of our exports, what could actually make us money. So the problem with that is a lot of our environmental activists are from my country, my province, which has a lot, and also this other province, Quebec, which are very pro-environmental. So they want to shut down the pipelines at every single possibility. Plus, they're really trying to push a national green energy plan. They're trying to put us into renewable sources. In fact, speaking of Al Gore, he was actually just in my hometown the other day, our capital, along with Bill Nye, promoting this shit.
Oh, don't get me started on Bill Nye, transgender guy.
Oh, God.
He's the cupcake guy.
The cupcake guy?
Ice cream. I was eating cupcakes earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The one when he went to go get ice cream in fucking whatever.
It started making me hungry, and then I felt dirty.
So yeah, really, I would.
Did they talk about nuclear at all?
Not really, actually. Actually, that also is one that people aren't exactly crazy about up here in Canada because they still see it. What's that?
Yeah, nuclear still has the whole stigma about it being like, oh, all it takes is one slip up and it's a nuclear bomb, and that's not how nuclear energy works. It's quite literally a glorified water heater.
Exactly, dude. I had a nuclear reactor at my college and shit like that, literally on campus and stuff like. I mean, we only had I think cobalt-65 or something. It wasn't something highly radioactive.
Well, and we got something like that too here in Madison. It's just a teeny tiny one that powers a lot of the campus buildings, but it's it works, and most of the people that are anti nuclear are some of the same people that benefit off of the nuclear generator we have downtown.
Well, and that's the thing, man. You can literally I hate to say this because they did use the example. I forget whether this was before or after 9/11, but they said, yeah, you could literally fly a plane in here, and even if it crashes through, even if it gets to the concrete, the steel, and stuff like that, it's it's just still in a pool of water.
Well, and even aside from that, if you put it on an area with a major saltwater source, if that thing starts to overheat, you flood that thing with salt water, it's going to cool down. Salt water is perfect for.
You just make sure you're high enough above, so just in case if there's an earthquake and a massive tsunami, it doesn't wipe out your diesel generators.
Well, yeah, obviously. But what I'm saying is having some sort of saltwater intake for that is good for cooling. But the main problem is people still are in the Cold War mindset of nuclear is bad, means bomb. It's the whole Trump thing of, you ever heard of a little thing called nuclear devices, bombs and things? All they hear is bomb. That's all they hear. I don't think it's a permanent solution, but I think it would buy us enough time to figure out what we need to do.
And that's the thing. We have the technology. It's just, I don't know whether it's regulation or whatnot. I know here in the States to build a nuclear power plant, the amount of regulations, and it ends up being usually a 10 or 20-year project. But like you said, man, the amount of, because I remember learning this in grade school. It's all right, you can have 1 ton of coal is the equivalent of 100 barrels of oil, is the equivalent of 1 gram of uranium.
Mm-hmm. Well, I as much as I'd love to, I don't think it's going to be very useful when it comes to moving cars and stuff. Unless you just outfit everyone in the United States with electric cars. And
you need coal fusion or something like that. But solar is just such a good idea. And dude, the next generation panels and shit are going to be coming out once we actually have the higher density absorption. When you're combining buckyballs, carbon fiber, and freaking this is when silver will actually be useful and stuff. Having high conduit metals and stuff.
Here's my thing.
Transfer.
Until a solar or a wind power generator can pay itself off in under a year, I'm not going to be in favor of it.
So solar's at
Like,
7 right now for residential usually.
Like, yeah, even in the residential section, it needs to be able to pay itself off in a year, because that is a huge investment, and not a lot of people are going to want to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the government, a lot of government credits have like run on stuff like that. But it's, I mean, I'd like to. It's just once it comes down, it's literally the manufacturing process. Once the equipment is there, dude, it's so much cheaper because you literally can do it via like almost like a printing press. You can print it out at least.
But again, that's the problem, though, is we need to get to that point, because with the whole thing with the solar roadway thing, yeah, they printed it out. Yeah, it kind of sort of works. But when it comes down to actual stress testing, most of these things can't handle what they're supposed to do, or they break, and then replacing them or repairing them is going to cost so much money. You know, it's not the actual using it, it's the getting there, and it's the getting there that's the hardest part, because there's so much to do.
Well, I've also heard that some of the restrictions when we're talking about solar or wind energy is that some of the places where they've tried to put them in have actually damaged the environment. One I know for sure would be the solar, the wind towers, is because apparently flocks of birds would start flying in there and we're just getting shredded apart. So at least some of the problems were that environmentalists, activists weren't happy about that either. So it seems like a kind of you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't situation. You're still going to get shit from the Greens.
Something that actually I find interesting that we need to do some more of is we need to look at large farming states. I believe it's Illinois or Ohio. Passing through there, there's a huge area of land. I'm talking, I think it's like over 200 or 300 wind turbines. It's just turbines as far as you can see, and it's all farm fields. You know, the farmers get paid to have these turbines in their property.
They lease it out, yeah. And well, actually, here's the thing. I think, Adrian, I actually have a solution to the bird problem. We just paint big scarecrows on all the turbines. We can get we can get a bunch of art students some work, and we'll help save birds, and we'll have clean power
and putting their art degrees to work.
Exactly.
Well, to be a little bit more serious, though, Oregon State University has a program on the coast where they're testing tidal energy. So they're putting these water turbines out into hooked to buoys out into the ocean and collecting the energy from the tides, and it's looking promising. I like stuff like that.
So it's literally using waves in order to produce power.
It's using the ocean.
We must remember
it's good for the coast, but doesn't do much for the Midwest.
Well, again, grid infrastructures, but remember, when you're talking about waves, Bill O'Reilly, I think he said it best. Remember, tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm a U of O guy. I'm a duck guy. I got my GED through the U of O. I didn't go to college there, but no, I just like the idea of using the ocean as a power source. And the ocean is vast. So you may say that it might not help the Midwest, but if you integrated the grid like we can in the modern century, if we upgrade it, you could. You could literally put these along the coastline and just have shipping routes that go around them.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to have to rely on, the coast, because if something happens, all of a sudden the entire Midwest loses power. I don't want to have to rely on that. When it comes to the bird issue, though, for wind turbines, have any of you ever seen those bladeless fans?
Yes.
Oh, I've seen the home one.
I think if we took an idea like that, where there's articulating blades on the inside, but it's completely open so that birds can fly through or whatever the fuck goes through it, that would be a good idea. Just have like small little areas to catch wind and turn it, but still have it be able to allow, wildlife to move through it.
And then we put pods in it, and then we have a true hyperloop.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, it sounds like we're winding down a bit. Unless you guys have some other topics, I'm good to go a little bit longer. I started late.
Yeah,
tonight,
I actually gotta
Did
get
you
off of it.
guys talk about the Russian sub that went into the coast and left without being detected?
No, I didn't
even hear about this.
Yeah. I saw it on RT, so I don't know, how necessarily accurate it is. But apparently, a Russian nuclear sub made its way into United States waters off the coast and left without ever being detected.
Well, shit, that's unnerving.
Well, no, I mean that's a claim anyone can make, right? We did something you can't prove we didn't do it. Come on.
Well, no, because the thing is we got we got the little fucking things where they can, I don't know what it's called, but back in the 40s they developed a small little depth charge that you dropped if your plane crashed. It would sink down to a certain depth, then implode, and it would send, it would go through the sound layer in the water back to buoys off the coasts to find things. It's the same principle that submarines work on.
Yeah, so you would sonic, sonics.
Right, and you'd think that they'd be able to hear, the submarine as it's moving through.
They would.
Flying
there
blind.
was one. But what I'm saying is that they can claim that they did when they didn't do it, because they can just say we did it, we weren't detected. You don't actually have to do something. I mean, they can't, right?
Well, yeah. See, yesterday I went out into the woods and I met with Bigfoot, and I took a picture. But when I came out, man, my phone must have glitched. I don't know. It must have been a UFO or something. But I
believe you.
That's what I mean. It's just this idea. Oh, we did something you can't prove we didn't. So
well, no, that's the thing, Cabbage, is we can prove it. It's the thing of that the fact that
if you could, then you'd detect it, wouldn't
that's the problem.
But then, but you're saying, but the point is, no, it's nonsense. It's absolute garbage.
Do you think it's just Russian propaganda?
Well, I'm just saying that they can claim anything they like if they say, well, we did something you could, therefore we did it, but they don't provide any evidence to the fact that they did it. I mean, if they'd have gone up and they'd have, on a pier, actually say that they have got, some proof, but they got no proof that they actually ever did the thing that they claimed they did.
You want to go?
Well, and my question would be, if you did do it, why would you announce it? That's a good card to have in your back pocket.
Exactly.
Well, no, if you announce it, it's something that scares the other side. That would be the point of announcing it.
Bullshit. No, the point of you can claim that you've got stuff that you don't have. The ability you don't have. So that just means you're fine. You say you did it, prove it. Then you can't prove it. Then they say, you're bullshitting.
Or, they can say we don't have to prove it to you. That's another thing that countries can do.
Yeah, nobody's going to take anyone seriously like that. It's horseshit. Come on. I mean, fuck me. It's the worst kind of... Jesus, if that's really all that they're really fucking pissing in the wind.
Well, I don't know.
They could at least, they could have left a little buoy, done a little buoy or something with a little, indicator, kind of like instead of, you just have a little buoy, you do the beep, 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 prove they've been there. Nothing. Horseshit.
I don't know, man. Looking at the way that Russia and the United States have interacted over the past few years, it's not implausible. Because, with the whole thing with with the Russian MiG, I forgot what model MiG it was, and then the U.S. aircraft that were doing patrols right along the Russian-U.S. border over the ocean, they're close enough you could see the other pilot. That's, it's not something of just them talking bullshit. No, it's something that actually happens. So us not being able to detect, a humongous tube of steel in the ocean that's beeping along its way underwater with our devices that are specifically designed to hear beeping underwater. I don't know. I can understand why people would think it's bullshit, but to me, it's in the realm of plausibility. Like it's hard to. I don't know if you should call the bluff or not.
Well, once again, I believe they can do it. I just don't necessarily believe that they would announce it.
I don't know. I mean, like that's what they did with their last tank that Russia did when they basically took a 4-man tank, turned it into a 2-man tank, and they announced it across the world. They won the tank games last year. Like, you know, it's not like they're just saying shit just to say shit. Like they do these things, and most of the time it's because they actually did it.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Didn't Russia, didn't they have, just a couple years ago, weren't a couple of their fighter jets caught just off the coast of Alaska? Like, I'm pretty sure I remember reading an article a couple years ago about how American fighter jets had to go and, like, nothing happened, but they ended up sort of just,
that's what I'm talking about. And they patrol that border all the time, whether it's by boat, whether it's by air. It's a very tense area up there, but it never happens quite like that where the two fighters are literally several feet apart, where you can see the other pilot in the opposite jet. Like that was I think 2.5 years ago that happened, but still that's mildly unnerving.
Just the fact that they're so close.
Picked them up.
And then you've got evidence claiming you've done something with no evidence and nobody else to verify it. It's nonsense. It doesn't mean anything.
But regardless of whether it was true or not, does you think that that means that America should maybe ramp up a bit of its defenses along the coast just to be safe?
I think it wouldn't hurt. I mean, I'm not saying, throw the National Guard in the water with a couple snorkels and look around, but...
Well, no, we have
add more money to the appropriations budget. Just increase taxes yet again.
It's not give them more money. It's not give them more money. It's you need to just pay attention a little bit more. You need to be doing more, more whatever the fuck it's called, scans, frequency checks, whatever the fuck you got to do. I don't know. I'm not a radar or submarine person, but it's like just doing it more frequently. It's just like patrolling the border. You have a lot of immigrants coming in, patrol the border more frequently. You're bound to find something.
Well, no, and we already have a coastal defense force, it's the Coast Guard. I would just utilize them a little bit more and actually, instead of just tracking down drug runners, maybe they should check for submarines. I mean, it's not a bad idea, right?
But Mad Dodge, drugs.
Well, no, like I said, I'm not talking about, just deploying the troops everywhere all over. It's just, do the things you already do, but do them more often. That's all you really can do in this instance. Unless you want to just pull the 7th Fleet back and, park them off the coast of California.
Waste of time, waste of resources.
Exactly.
I would love to do that. I would pull all the troops back and defend the homeland and stop with foreign intervention. But that's just me. Any last thoughts, guys? It's almost 10 o'clock my time, so I guess we should wind this down.
Oh, shit, it's almost 1 a.m. for me.
Yeah, so any last thoughts? I mean...
No, not really.
Just in terms of the Russia thing, I would just say that I think America should just keep its eyes open. Like, even not necessarily like that you have to be too worried about this, but Russia's trying to gain its influence back, and at least under Obama, America was pretty passive about the whole thing. So just if you are going to stay on the world stage, you got to be a little more careful about it.
Well, I don't think they ever lost their influence.
No.
Their influence is there, but it waned a little bit. They never lost it. Just like China never really lost their influence either. They still have it.
Well, they used to be more of a world power, and now I would say, I don't know if you disagree, but I would say they're more of a regional power.
Not necessarily, because I mean, there's still even though some of the stuff is just being recycled throughout the Arab countries, they're still pumping tons of munitions and weapons and vehicles into other countries. Like it's not like they're completely inactive when it comes to other countries. I mean, they were selling off BTRs about a year and a half ago because they were trying to keep their economy stable. Like just selling off BTRs. That's a lot of money for a fucking truck with a gun.
Who are they selling it off to? Just the world? Anybody?
I think it was just, an open offer to any country, but I think it's primarily just like Arabic countries.
Yeah, they're allies or something.
Well, no, I don't know if allies is the term. I think business partners is better because using a thing that's designed to take bullets is a lot better than just using a Toyota 4Runner with a howitzer bolted onto the back.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. This has been the Redeye stream number 95. Thank you, everybody. Tomorrow is St. Patty's Day. I'm gonna go ahead and buy a fifth of whiskey and do a stream. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Anybody wants to join me? Just my stupid opinion. I don't know if they do St. Patty's Day up there, but if they do, get some whiskey and let's do a stream, man. It should be fun. I'll find some funny stories or something. It'll be a lot less political.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to be at my buddy's birthday party tomorrow night, so if I get back in time, I'll join you.
All right, sounds good. And Bradley, haven't seen you around in a while. Thank you for coming on, sir.
No problem.
All right, we're out of here. Good night and good luck.